Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott and we have a great night planned for you. Why? Because I'll tell you, the next guest we have tonight, Timothy Renner, is going to be absolutely amazing. I'm going to tell you, his hair is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. You'll see momentarily. But first, let us say hello to each and every one of you as we have Kitty Cattywhack in the gold medal position. Race fan with a silver, T-Bone taking home the bronze medal tonight. Thunderhead, how you doing tonight? Mel WD-40 is here, lubing us up for tonight's show because you cannot talk monsters and legends without being lubed up. You never know when that lube is going to come in importantly. So, Mel, thank you for the lube. Don't forget to give yourself a little shot as well. Road Flare, Robert Lamoth, how you guys doing tonight as we kick off roll call? Race fan, good to see you. And who else do we have? Shane Gord, always a pleasure. Michael Morris is here. Michael Morris will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Hi there, Kathy Evans. Mama Catherine. Mwah, there she is. Gotta love her. Gotta love Mama Catherine. And I hope you're having a great day and night, my dear. Thank you for listening in tonight. Moving on down, People Unite. How you doing? And K17 Odd, nice to see you. As we scroll on down to Terry Mills, how are you? Necessary Dialogue, thanks for coming on in as we continue on with our roll call here. And who is next? Who is next? Well, it's number 25 in your program, starting on defense from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. There he is. Going to be opening up free agency tomorrow. He's a big free agent tomorrow. We'll see what he gets. Money-wise, we'll find out tomorrow. Moving on down, we have Lisa Smith and Jessica S. Chris Irvin is here. Chris Irvin will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Be gentle. This is Chris's first time signing autographs. We don't want to get Chris intimidated, so just be gentle. That's all I'm asking. Kitty Cattywhack, thank you for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you very, very much. As we scroll on down next and say hello to, well, it's the Ferret, everybody. Hi, Ferret. How are you? John Jackson, Undead Jed, thanks for coming on in. JSCO, how you doing? Pam Harris, nice to see you. The lovely and talented Laura Elizabeth, thank you for joining us as we continue on with our roll call. And Pam Harris once again. Yes, honest party. It is a tranche party around here. We all have our tranches on. You're waiting for the UFO files. That's right. I love it. Maybe we should make some SOR boxers and call them the tranche party. What do you think? Let me know in the chat room. If you like it, I'll make it. I'm hardcore on X. Let me know how you're doing. Chaz Mataz, nice to see you as we continue on with our roll call. East Coast Turnaround on X, checking in from Pennsylvania. Love it. Love it, my friend. Thank you for tuning us in. T-Bone, how you doing again? And thank you for that awesome super chat. The super chat is always a great idea for this show. Paramarv, how you doing, my friend? Nice to see you. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Jeff Steve Garvey is here. He'll hit a home run for you. Dr. Sammy Munchkin, how you doing? Welcome to SOR Chat. Scott Blight, nice to see you. And I think we're caught up. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're proud to have Timothy Renner, author, researcher, podcaster, artist. Guy has his fingers in everything. He's that awesome. And we're going to bring him on momentarily, but we are in roll call on our YouTube side right now. So make sure you hang on out. And let's see here. We got 29 seconds. The Ferret. Thanks for getting Timothy as a guest. Huge fan of Strange Familiars and SOR. Right on. Thank you for saying that. Salad. Welcome to SOR Chat. What kind of salad are you? Please let me know. And we're caught up. It is that time of the night, everybody, where I ask a simple, gentle favor. Throw those horns up. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods. We're together. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the newswire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Caribou Con. Get your tickets at cariboucon.com for British Columbia's only paranormal conference, September 18th through 20th, right here in the heart of British Columbia. We have an amazing guest tonight, well-respected researcher, artist, podcaster. Timothy Renner is going to talk about legends and folklore around Pennsylvania and his investigation areas into monsters and legends. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will kick things off with another spooky story. Then your favorite and mine, Robin Haynes, will be here for the cryptid Q&A. So we got a jam-packed show coming up for you tonight. So let's get right to it, shall we? Timothy Renner is an illustrator, author, and musician. His illustrations have appeared in the pages of various books, magazines, fanzines, and comics, as well as many on recorded CD covers. Since 1995, though, Timothy has been making music both solo with his band, Stone Breath. He is also the creator and co-host of the podcast Strange Familiars, concerning the paranormal, weird history, and folklore. Timothy, who I think is one of the most respected researchers in North America, currently resides in South Central Pennsylvania, where you might find him wandering the woods looking for everything from puck wedgies to Sasquatch and Dogman and those tall, ugly bipedal canines. Strangefamiliars.com is his website. Let's cut through the chase. Let's get to some monster stories. Timothy Renner, it's probably been about 7 years. 8 years
been that long.
we've had you on Spaced Out Radio. I don't know how I've aged so much while you still look the same.
I think
friend, how
if
you
there's a
doing?
side-by-side picture of me 7 years ago, I think you might see a little more gray now.
Well, I'm telling you, though, I know our radio audience can't hear this, but I did have hair as long as yours a couple years ago. And I'm really jealous looking at you that I actually cut mine off.
It's all I have, you know. You gotta go with the few things you're given, and this hair is one of the rewards I was given, I suppose.
I know that feeling.
And my wife won't let me cut it, so
I got a face for radio to compete. So, whatever that's worth, I'm not sure. But you know what? The one thing that I love about you, man, is I talk to a lot of people each and every week on this show. And when your name is brought up, you are one of the rarities in this field because everybody always has good things to say about you.
Wow.
There is never anybody saying, he's great with his research, but he's got bad breath. Or, he wears socks with sandals or anything like that. No, man, everybody always has such high praise for you. I don't know if you knew that or not, but I wanted to pass that on.
Well, that's very, very nice to hear. That's very, very nice to hear. I'm sure there's a few out there who consider me more of a thorn in their side than a benefit, but I'm happy to hear that.
When did you realize you were a monster hunter?
Oh, I mean, I loved it from the time I was a kid, but at some point I think you realize you're in this, right? And probably after I wrote my first book, and I was taking it seriously before then, but I really, really dug in and decided this is what I'm going to do. And sometime around there, I thought, I guess I'm in this. This is what I do now. So 10 years ago or so, probably.
You ever look back and just said, what kind of crazy life did I put myself into?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, I'm very, very lucky. There's a quote, and I might get the quote wrong, but I'll get it close to correct. Mike Mignola, the guy who created Hellboy, he said, I just wanted to find a job where I could draw monsters every day. And I feel like it's very similar to that. I don't do comics. I do these, books about the paranormal and folklore and history and stuff. But I kind of found a way where I can draw monsters fairly often, if not every day.
As you started getting more and more into this field, how did it change you and your perspective on what's the hidden secrets of life?
Yeah, I think my journey, and I don't know if this is the way for everyone, but my journey through the paranormal has been a spiritual journey. It has led me to a more spiritual place. Now, I don't know exactly the whys and hows of that. I think maybe it just might be the idea that, hey, there's more out there than we think, more than we know. And maybe that just sort of adjusted my way of looking at the world. But I think very much my journey through the paranormal has been, led to a spiritual opening or a return in the case that I came back to the Catholic Church,
As you have kind of looked into this journey, whether it's paranormal, supernatural, cryptids, or UFOs and ET contact, have you found yourself favoring one over the other, or do you love just taking in the stories from all of them still?
I love all of the stories. If I have to pick a personal favorite, it's going to be Bigfoot every time. It's since I was a little kid, I just love Bigfoot. Something about a big hairy monster in the woods just fascinated me as a child, still fascinates me now. But, the more I'm into this, the more it seems to be all connected. Now, I cannot say how it's connected or why, but it really just feels like it's all connected. I mean, we were talking a little bit before we started about two places we visit and how there's just various phenomena there. There's just different things are happening like in these places, and it just all feels connected somehow. It doesn't feel like just a coincidence that at this place I'm getting UFO activity and things that seem like Bigfoot activity and ghost activity.
It's funny you say that because when I started in this, I was all about UFOs and aliens. That's all I wanted to talk about was UFOs and aliens. And it's funny, since UFOs and aliens have become the hot button topic over the last couple of years, I found myself actually shifting more towards Sasquatch and cryptid beings. And then, you have a couple of encounters. And when you live in the forest like I do,
Hmm.
and you have those trees and you can look at your area, albeit, across the sky a little bit, but know the vicinity of your area. And you're like, dang, I could be out there right now, but instead I'm at my daytime job, or I'm having to go grocery shopping, or whatever. It kind of gives you that rush, like it's almost Christmas Day, like the weekend is coming and I get to go, out to my area and see what's going on. I
Yeah.
mean, it's an adrenaline rush.
Oh, it's addictive to the point where I warn people about that. Be careful of that addiction. It's ruined some people, where they've just kind of gotten rid of their families and done some other things that they probably shouldn't do in favor of this stuff, because it is addictive. Like once you get this contact and it's a rush, and I love it. But I say be careful, not because I think that they're demons or anything like that. It's not that at all. It's just it's a very seductive kind of thing, and it's very enticing, and you want to do it all the time. I want to do it all the time. I want to have that feeling, that excitement all the time. But you kind of keep one foot in both worlds. I also have a family.
Talk about that excitement though, because I've had people, when I've shown that excitement, they look at me and they're like, "You're nuts." You're running through, and this includes Terry Hall, who's on my Spaced Out Radio team. He's like, "You're an idiot for putting yourself in the way of 1,000-pound monster who could rip your neck, your head from your neck at any moment possible." And I'm like, "Yeah, but that would be a really cool death when you meet St. Peter." Not everybody gets that one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's for everybody. And I the other thing I will tell people is, if you can listen to radio shows and podcasts and read books and that's enough for you, then stop there. you know but there are people, and I was one of them, that there was nothing that was going to keep me from it. I was going to go out and experience this stuff. You cannot stop me from doing it. I was going to do it. So to that I say, be careful, to try to keep a sense of humor, try to have other interests. Don't let the paranormal be your only interest. Take breaks when you can. And I would add to that, sort of pay attention to folklore, because our ancestors knew what they were doing when they handed down these stories and these, I call them rules. They're not unbreakable rules, but they're very, very good guidelines, I think, that our ancestors handed us to deal with this stuff.
For our radio audience, our audience in general, what is your favorite personal Bigfoot story?
Of my own, or that I've heard?
Well, you know what? We got time. Let's start off with yours.
Okay. So I've never seen, for sure, that I can tell you 100% certain I've seen Bigfoot. I have seen things in the woods in Pennsylvania that move very fast that were probably too big to be here. But for instance, someone said, well, you saw the ghost of an elk. I can't prove that I didn't. It was very big, right? We don't have elk here now. But I kind of have two, I think, and they're both, kind of interesting. The one in particular I'm talking about, I had gone to this area that I've written about for years. It's called Toad Road here. And there's all kinds of legends on the internet, all of which are silly, about insane asylums that burn down and so forth. And I'd gone there one week with my friend, and for some reason he didn't want to hike the whole road. It was a road in the 1970s. It's been shut down for years. Now it's private property and trails and stuff, and not much of a road left. I'd like to hike the whole thing end to end. For some reason, he didn't want to do that. He wanted to go back. So we turn around and we go back. On the way back, two things happened. One, I walked into what I call a wall of stink. It was that smell. If you've been out there and you know what I'm talking about, that smell of death and decay, and just it's BO all mixed together. But it was a wall of it, literally, that went across the trail. I could walk into it. You'd smell the smell. I could step out of it like 2 feet later and no smell. Turn around, walk back into the smell. You smell it again. And that it's like a wall of stink that was there. It's very strange. And a few feet from that, I look down in the middle of the trail and I see a raccoon skull, perfectly clean, in the middle of the trail. And I collect skulls. I have since I was a kid. I like to draw them. It's just been something I've done. I grew up on a farm, so I've been around, and I'm kind of tuned to that in the woods. So the fact that I would have walked out and stepped over this perfectly clean raccoon skull in the middle of the trail. Very unlikely. Possible, but very unlikely. So I pick it up and, oh, wow, cool, raccoon skull. Put it in my pack, make plans with my friend to come back the following week and finish the hike. Well, the following week, he can't come back for whatever reason. Week after that, he can't for whatever reason. Fine, I'll do it myself. I went alone. And I get back there and I get to about the place where I saw the raccoon skull. I hear something. I look up and I see something very big. It was black and gray. Just shoot through the brush heading south. And I took off after it, not out of bravery. I don't know why I took off after it. As fast as I could go, I can't. I have MS and I walk with the walking staff and stuff. But as fast as I could go, I went after it. It didn't occur to me until much later in the afternoon. I sort of sat down and went, what were you doing? Like if something wanted to lead you, you took the bait and just really followed along after something. But I did until I was stopped in my track and by a deer skull that was impaled on a branch at eye level right in the middle of the trail. And this is not a hiking trail. It's not a pleasant trail at all. It's not a place where people normally go. It's not a place where people should be. So could someone have come down in the time that I wasn't there in those 2 weeks and put a deer? Yes. But the feeling I got when I saw that skull, for whatever feelings are worth, is, oh, you like that little raccoon skull? You're going to love this. And it was this big deer skull. And stopped me in my tracks, not scared, but just like, wow, look at that. Grabbed it, put it in my pack. Went home, thought I had this amazing experience, and that was the end of it. Within a few days, I'm called to a local Bigfoot sighting. The guy says he's got Bigfoot on his property. They're standing across the pond on his property. He wouldn't even go across the pond. I said, well, I'll walk over there. You tell me to stop where they were standing. And he did. And I said, I'm going to raise up my walking stick. You tell me, like how tall they were. And, I raised up. They were about 8 feet tall from what he told me. There was 2 of them over there. And whenever he was done, and I'm looking around a little bit, I look at my feet, and there's a perfectly clean deer skull right at my feet, right where he said the creatures were standing. Now, this kicked off a period of about 2 years where every single time I went out on anything Bigfoot related, whether it was on my own just to get out in the woods and do an investigation and go to an area where people have seen them, or whether people called me out, said, hey, we had an encounter, where I found deer skulls or some other animal skulls. 80% of the time, I'll say 75, but I really think it was 80% or more of the time. It was incredible. And people would laugh. It was like I would pick them up. It got to the point where I remember during it went into the early days of the pandemic. And I remember my daughter was like, hey, I want a skull, Dad. And I said, well, you have to go hiking with me. And there's this little trail behind, like near our house. There's 3 acres of woods or something. And we went on, and we didn't find any on the hike. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, you can't. It doesn't always happen. Right as we're leaving the trail on a log, there's a fox skull, just like laid out there perfectly. And this happened again and again and again. So it kicked off this thing with the skulls. Now it seems to have ceased. It seemed to have slowed down. I don't know why that happened, but it just one after another, including back in that same area. One day we found pig skulls. Now there's no pig skulls nearby. That one of them had a bullet hole, right? A 22 or a small caliber rather, bullet hole right in. And it shook me to my core because I had not published this article in my book because I didn't know it was really related to the area. I didn't know how it was related, but I knew the story, and it came from like 1909 or 1915 or something. I forget the exact date. And it was a story about 2 kids who were slaughtering pigs in the area. And they were using a 22, and the one kid put in a 22 pistol. Kid put it in his pocket, and it fell out, and it shot him in the heart, and he died. So the fact that I find this pig skull with this right there with this small caliber, and like no one knows this story, like I'm the only one who dug up the story. I hadn't printed this story anywhere. It like just one of these synchronicities where I'm just like, wow. But it was things like that again and again and again with these skulls. It's just these incredible things. And then it sort of dwindled off and stopped. I can't tell you why, but that kind of kicked it off. That would be probably my favorite personal sighting, because it was this really strange period in my life where I just found an incredible amount of skulls.
Do you think that maybe Just maybe they were gifting them to you.
Yeah, whatever that means, right? Yeah. It was like, this guy likes these, I guess, and this is the way we keep having contact with him, or keep him coming out here. I don't know, but it did feel like that. It really felt like that.
I'll tell you why I asked that in a much different sense. In 2024, when we were out at our special spot, we had a Sasquatch following us through the trees. And then it left us. And as we made our way back to our base camp a little bit later, probably 20 minutes later, there was a fresh 17-inch track.
Wow.
Right 10 feet from our tent. And it was pointing towards a trail. We knew the trail it went down. And then right at this tree, where in 2018, my friend Merle had the life scared out of him by a Sasquatch. This happened probably 20 minutes after we had actually heard samurai chatter for the first time.
Wow.
They scared Merle away from the area. Well, right at this exact same tree where Merle was, there was now a 8-foot staff leaning against that tree.
Wow.
And how we knew it had just arrived was, number one, we were the only people there for 3 days. Number two, it had poured rain, cats and dogs type of rain, about an hour and a half long, hour 15 minutes long, prior to this incident happening. The staff was dry.
Wow.
And number three, we had video going up and down that trail, and there was no staff there.
Amazing.
So we traded that staff for a Canadian dollar coin called a loonie. All right. I went back there 3 weeks after this trip. The loonie was still on the ground by the tree. I go back the following year. So this would have been last year. First time we go out there, the loonie is still there. The next time we go, the loonie has been traded for a quarter. Right? Okay. So it was obviously waiting. And then about a few weeks later, this is a trail that kind of it forks, but it only forks for about 20 feet, 25 feet. Okay. And I had this voice in my head, go look at the other trail. Go look at the other trail. Just go look at the other trail. And I go look at the other trail. There's a log that you have to step over. I get to that log and I look on the ground, and that loonie is in the middle of the trail.
Amazing.
Oh, Tim. So we put it back at the gifting site, at a different gifting site now, because this one was too close to people. So we put it back at an original gifting site. And about 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, no longer than that, 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, that loonie disappears again. It's gone. Don't know where it is. But I can tell you what showed up as of the last 2 weeks ago was a Canadian dime and a copper bracelet.
Wow.
Which I've now traded for a glow stick and a Canadian quarter.
Wow.
They haven't taken the jade. They haven't taken the quartz. Daryl Denton, a good friend of mine. I don't know if you know Daryl or not. Good, big
familiar, but I don't.
Oh, you and him would get along famously. You should actually really have him on your show. He is amazing.
I'll look him up.
Yeah, if you need contact information, hit me up. But he told me, put a whistle there. They love whistles. My whistle has never moved. And I'm really curious to see what's going to happen now, because the last time we went up there, that day before we went up there, I had a conversation with a First Nations person from out of town, and we were talking Sasquatch. And he runs to his vehicle. He says to me, I have something for you. I said, what? He goes, would you please put this here? And he hands me an eagle feather.
Ooh.
And that is spiritual. I don't know the full spirituality because I'm not Indigenous, but I do know that the eagle feather means a lot to the Indigenous people. So now I've got an eagle feather there, and I'm going to see how that breaks out. But we're going to get more into your stories. It's not about me tonight. It's about author, researcher, podcaster Timothy Renner tonight. You can find all of his books at strangefamiliars.com. Make sure you check it on out. We'll be right back. So what's really cool about that, the bracelet and the dime, I have my trail camera set on video about 15 feet away. And I could see the bracelet on the trail cameras because we noticed it after we picked up the trail camera. I could see the bracelet. Whoever put it there or whatever put it there, put it on the side of the camera on the tree. And up to June 8th, it was there. So I picked up my cameras about June 20th. What was it? What was last weekend? So I didn't go this weekend. I went the weekend before last. So around June 21st when we were there, I backdated it to June 8th because I had my cameras out there for 2 weeks. Could see the bracelet on the tree. June 7th, no bracelet, no video in between showing how the bracelet and the dime got there.
So it was there, then it wasn't there, then it was back? Is that what you're saying?
No, we can't figure out who placed it because on June 7th, it was not there.
So
June 8th, it was there.
Sometimes I wonder if these things are reports, if they're just popping into existence somehow.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. 1 second here. Blue Cruise, how you doing tonight? Thanks for dropping in. Who else has hopped in here? Let's see here. So we changed one of our trail cameras. We put it up way deep in the forest now where we found our 18.5-inch tracks. I'm curious to see what's going to happen there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, and I've been proven wrong by this, so this isn't always the case, but sometimes I feel like, I don't know if cameras kill it, but I know in our experience, like what we're seeing with our eyes when we try to photograph it, it's not the same a lot of times.
100% agree.
But, you know, so I've gotten to the point where I barely, I sometimes I'll take my camera out and photograph stuff. But most often I'm just in all of the experience and not even thinking about it and not worried about it. But I always have audio running. Always.
Yes.
I think Tobe Johnson said it when he was on my show. It was a great quote. He says, it's almost like we're allowed to record this stuff, the audio. And I really feel like that. I've never had audio shut anything down to my knowledge. And not that video is shutting it down. I don't know if what we're seeing translates to camera somehow. I don't exactly know how it works.
Here's some cool shots for you, bro. This is 15 feet from my gifting site. There's the back end of a wolf.
Oh, nice. Wow.
And then on my other trail camera, there's a lynx right there.
Oh, that's awesome.
And here's the brown black bear.
Oh, cool. Those are great shots.
Yeah, this trail cam turns out real well. This is probably my favorite shot. There's a coyote.
Oh, that is nice.
But you look how camouflaged that is. Right there on camera. You know, it's weird. And then so my buddy who goes out with us, he's a big dude. Okay. He's like 6'5", 6'6", wears a size 16-inch shoe. That's his foot next to the track.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we got lots of. Last year we were playing hide and go seek with them. I didn't see one. My buddy saw 3. around
Jeez.
us. He saw a white one, a gray one, a white one, a blonde one, and a cinnamon colored one. And I didn't see any of them. Knew they were there. You could feel them,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't see any of them. And I'm kind of pissed off about that.
When you said you were sort of told to go down that path, how did that?
It was like a telepathic message. Hey, go look down this path.
Did you hear it? Did you hear it as words, or was it more of a feeling?
All words.
Really?
Yeah. No, pardon me. It was a combination of both.
Mm-hmm.
It's a combination of both. We're coming back in 10 seconds. Thank you, T-Bone. Thank you, Kitty, for the super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do. Here comes the second half hour. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Happy Canada Day for all of our Canadian listeners out there. We greatly appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. And we want to remind all of you before we bring Timothy Renner back in that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Author, researcher, experiencer, podcaster, Timothy Renner is here. His website, strangefamiliars.com. It's a show and a person you really want to follow if you're into monsters and legends. Timothy, welcome back.
Oh, thanks for having me. I love it here.
I want to ask you a quick question about that smell that you were smelling in the forest. Was it kind of skunky, but not?
A little bit. It smelled more like death odor, but mixed with BO to me. That's the way I would explain it. I smell a lot of skunks. We have a skunk population that walks through my yard fairly often. So I don't know if I'm maybe overly familiar with skunk and it just doesn't, ring that bell for me or what, but I was getting just more dead, more decay from it.
Oh, okay. See, in my area, we have skunk, except the problem is we don't have skunks in our forest.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It's very rare to see a skunk up here where I live in British Columbia. And I don't think they like the cold temperatures, to be honest. But,
okay.
When you go into town, they have been there.
Yeah, they adapt very well to town living.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But in our case, it's always in the same area. But the difference between the skunk smell and what we're smelling is that this smell disappears. Skunk smell, if a skunk sprays
for sure
or even walks through, you've got that smell for hours.
Oh, yeah.
You can walk into our area, smell the skunk, or I'm calling it skunk, but it's not really. Okay. And you can walk back 5 minutes later, that skunk smell is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what that is, but it is very interesting as I look into that for sure.
Oh yeah. 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 I had somewhat recently, I had the sort of dead smell that came and went. It was very interesting. Like you'd think if something was dead nearby, it would, it'd be pretty stationary and that smell would linger, but it came and it went along with, I'd been picking up shotgun shells all day long, cleaning up after hunters here. And I found this area. Well, I went to this area. I'd found it before, but it's, I truly believe it's probably a pre-Columbian ritual site. There's stone circles there and stone mounds there. And it's just, I'm trying to get it recognized as such, but that's a whole other story. But in any case, I'm in this area and the smell wafts by. And I'm photographing, dry stone walls that to my belief, aren't European made, and these stone circles and such. And this smell hits me. And I'd heard of like some things, but it's daytime. There's things moving around the woods. It could have been other things moving around. Could have been deer or something moving around. But then the smell comes, and then it goes, and then it comes again, and I find this shotgun shell. It's an old one, like very, very old. You can tell I've been in the woods for a long, long time. That was sitting upright on one of these stone circles, just like, hey, you've been picking up shotgun shells all day. Here you go. And it right in tandem with these smells, I find the shotgun shell. That was the day, but it was very, very interesting because again, if something's dead, that smell is just going to linger. It's just not going to come and go.
Do you think it was a forewarning for you to be careful where you go? Or do you think it's all part of, hey, this guy likes the skulls, this guy's into this, so let's just leave it for him?
Yeah, I think it's for whatever reason, this stuff likes interchange. It likes to have these little back and forths. I think that's what's happening with your gifting. I think for some reason whatever they are, it likes to have this sort of back and forth a little bit with us. And I think that's part of it. I really, again, for whatever feelings are worth, it was like, oh, I saw you picking up shotgun shells all day. Here you go. Here's a shotgun shell for you. But this one's balanced upright, on one of these stone circles.
You gave us your favorite personal story about encounters, about the skulls. That's what we've been talking about. What is your favorite Sasquatch story that you've heard that somebody has told you?
I was lucky enough to get this on my show. It's a caller named Gage. It's my absolute favorite Sasquatch story because I believe it says so much about the phenomenon. He said when he was 10 years old, he had 2 other friends that they would play with in this neighborhood, and they would go in the woods and play every day. Did not think anything about Bigfoot, knew nothing about Bigfoot. And one day, it was very important to note that his best friend, of the 2 of them, he said, came from a really rough childhood home, a really, really bad home life. And then this third kid was just kind of like the third wheel. This kid just hung around those 2, but those 2 were really tight, and this third kid was there. So one day they go out in the woods, place they play every day, and a tree had fallen. A big tree was laying down. And he says this big, hairy, white creature steps out of this fallen tree and steps in front of him. And he said it was very scary because it's a big, giant, hairy, white creature, but he didn't get a bad feeling from it. His feeling was that it was trying to keep them from going further into the woods, that there was something back in the woods that wasn't for them that day, whether it was a cougar or a bad person or who knows what. But like it was saying, stop, turn around. This isn't your place today. And, of course, it was scary because of the big hairy creature, but not horrifying in the sense that he felt it was going to hurt them or anything. But they turned around screaming and ran out of the woods because they're, 10-year-old kids. Still didn't think it was Bigfoot. They called it the Beast in the neighborhood. They had the story about the Beast. They would say, and didn't keep them from the woods for very long. They're kids. They went out and played again. Years later, he grows up and he starts getting into Bigfoot. And he says, "Oh, I got to call my friends and see if they remember this." So he tracks these 2 guys down, and he tracks down his friend with the rough home life. And he says, "Do you remember that?" And the guy says, "Do I remember it? I remember it like it was yesterday. That thing was horrifying. It was jet black, and it stepped out of that tree and was going to kill us." And he talks to his third friend. His third friend says, "I didn't see a thing. You guys started running. I saw nothing. I just ran with you." So to me, it's sort of the ultimate version of the phenomenon. They can agree they saw something. They can agree it was a big hairy creature. One guy says it was white and very positive and very, even though it was scary because it was big and hairy, it was trying to keep them from danger of some sort. The other guy with the bad home life says, no, it was jet black and it was going to eat us. It's going to kill us. It was a bad thing. And the third guy sees nothing at all. That, to me, that's the mystery of the Bigfoot phenomena summed up in one sighting right there. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
Do you think it could be the emotion that drove those 3 different stories? One person just doesn't want to talk about it because it scared them so much. The next person because they were fearful of what they saw, that they just, put this image in their head that it was bad and ugly. And the other one, maybe saw what really happened.
It maybe there's some part of us that informs what we see, and I think this could be tied to culture and things like archetypes and things that I haven't fully worked out, nor do I fully understand them. But in my gut, I feel like culture is part of this, and these sort of archetypes come from culture and they come from our experiences, but also we ourselves might be bringing something to it, and in a sense skinning the phenomenon, like in terms of video games, one person skins it one way and the other person skins it the other, and or maybe it reaches into our head and pulls out certain ideas, and I wish I knew how it worked. I really don't. But yeah, what you're saying, it could have been just like their own sort of where they were mentally, their own mental state could have informed how they interpreted the phenomenon, certainly.
What do you think Bigfoot's attraction is to children? A lot of people seem to have a lot of activity when children are around, laughing and playing. When my son was younger, we'd take him to our Bigfoot spot, and the minute that he started laughing and playing, we could all of a sudden feel them coming around us.
Wow.
And my son would feel it. It was very, very interesting to watch. We've heard of stories of Bigfoot kidnapping children.
Mhm.
We've also heard of stories of Bigfoot saving children.
Mhm.
Probably the most recent one was about 4 years ago in North Carolina, where that 3-year-old was
Oh, yeah.
taken from his yard. And then he said, a big teddy bear kept me warm and fed me berries all night. And the kid came out just fine.
Yeah.
What do you think it is with these creatures and children?
I think kids are maybe more open to experiences, and we shut down over time. And I've had several people tell me that my kid can detect spirits very easily, and where I can't, or something like that. And I think maybe we close down over time. Just maybe it's a natural process, or maybe it's just part of living in the West and living in the culture we do. That we live in this very materialist culture, and maybe we over time we shut down, or maybe it's necessity in order to handle business. We gotta shut that part of ourselves off. But I think kids are generally more open, and the phenomena may be responding to that. Again, if you're more open to it, more chance of this contact, this interchange with you.
Do you think they mean to harm children?
See, that's where it gets dark, because I think the answer is sometimes yes. And we don't know. And I like to describe all of this as an ecosystem out there that's filled with things that are good, bad, and everywhere in between. And the problem is, when you're dealing with it, you don't know what you're getting. So you have to be careful, and you have to be sort of prepared. So yeah, I mean, I think sometimes, and the folklore backs this up, there are a lot of missing kid stories in folklore, from fairies abducting children to I have Bigfoot stories where they abduct children. Yeah, it's just there, and so you don't know. This is, I like to call the totality of the phenomenon, I just call the other, because again, I think it's all related. Don't exactly know how, but I truly believe it's all related. So what I would just say, the other is other. So, and you don't know what you're going to get. So, you have to be careful all the time.
You live in an area where there's a lot of legends and folklore in Pennsylvania. You live in your area in Pennsylvania reminds me of here in British Columbia, where I am, where there's always something mysterious going on. What makes Pennsylvania such a mysterious place?
So short answer, I don't know. And when I started my podcast, I would just tell people, no, it's everywhere. It's just, I live here and I'm digging this stuff up. So, but over time, it's like, no, it really does feel like there's something special about Pennsylvania. What that is, I don't know. It might be this melting pot combination of folklore we have. It might be, I was talking to someone earlier, and they were talking about the types of rock that's in the earth and so forth, the geology of the state. A lot of limestone, a lot of quartzite, things like that. Maybe that's tied to it. Um, Part of me, I'm very interested in what I call buried treasure theory, which doesn't always have to do with treasure, but the idea of digging into the ground and how much of this phenomena sort of centers around areas that have been where the earth has been disturbed in whatever way, and the idea that there's something special hidden in the ground, whether that be buried treasure in the literal sense, or mines, or even the idea that these creatures live underground. And Pennsylvania is just filled with mines. I mean, we've been mining here for forever, mines and caves and stuff. We've been disturbing the earth here. So is that part of it? Is it all of the above? Is it just this mix? And then this very healthy, folklore that's been here, that's the Pennsylvania Dutch, kind of insular culture have preserved their folklore pretty well. Is it all of the above, maybe? A mix of all the above.
Do you think that Pennsylvania is just a hotbed state for interactions because it does have a rich history? It does have forests. It does have waterways, especially on the East Coast. But there's a lot of rivers running through there, the Allegheny and the Monongahela. I'm going to get it wrong.
Monongahela.
Thank you. I mean, there's
the mighty Susquehanna. Don't forget my favorite river.
Right. I mean, there is a lot of history there that goes back a long time.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, the Susquehanna River is older than the Appalachian Mountains. It's one of the oldest rivers in the world. It's right up there. I think the Nile might be older. There's a couple, but it's right up there. It's one of the oldest rivers in the world. So, yeah. I mean, there's a deep, deep history there, and there was a deep history there with the native people and the pre-Columbian people, native people. It's just there, and it's in the earth, and the land remembers. And we do have. I mean, where I am, that's the other thing. One of the questions I would ask people, other than what's in the ground here, is where's the nearest creek. And I'm in Pennsylvania, so I don't know how much this differs in other places, but there's never not a creek nearby. There's there's never a place where somebody's, oh no, there's no creek around here. There's always a creek. So we do have these waterways, and for a long time I thought that might have something to do with it.
What kind of monsters are roaming around Pennsylvania?
Well, so my new book is called The Keystone Hagstone, Fairies and Other Mysterious Entities of Pennsylvania. And I jokingly call it like a monster manual for Pennsylvania, because it's got everything in it. And I was able to find so much, from very, very traditional fairy stuff like goblins and banshees and phantom black dogs, little people, all manner of things, from goblins and Tommyknockers and kobolds and red caps, you name it. Whole chapter on little people. There's a whole chapter on just various entities, which include things like I never thought I'd find mermaid stories. We're a landlocked state, but I've got mermaids in the Susquehanna River. Just these water sprites and things like that. Dragons. There's dragon lore in Pennsylvania. Very, very healthy sort of dragon lore amongst the Pennsylvania Dutch. I mean, it's just filled with all these stories of these different entities, which again, as a quote unquote monster kid or whatever, I absolutely loved it. I love doing the research for this book.
Tell us some fairy stories.
Oh, I've got a great one for you.
Beautiful.
And I'll just read the article if that's okay.
Please do.
Yeah. So a lot of this book is a combination of so my historical Bigfoot books, I found these old articles which talk about what I think is Bigfoot. And then my Bigfoot book, Where the Footprints End, is a lot more sort of analysis and folklore and comparative folklore and stuff. This book, The Keystone Hagstone, I do a lot of both. So I find these old newspaper articles that talk about this stuff, but then I do a lot of folklore research and comparative folklore and things like that. So this is an article I found from 1873, and it takes place in Berks County, Pennsylvania, which is, let's see, kind of between Philadelphia and Harrisburg, for people maybe not familiar with the state. And it's a long article. I'm going to start in the middle of the article. Basically, the reporter hears about some strange things. He's not sure what. He hears about some strange things that are happening in this area of Berks County. He goes there and goes to an inn and talks to the locals, and it kind of starts there. It seemed an important matter to Mr. Miller, who emptied his mouth of a huge quid of masticated tobacco. He said last Tuesday, Mrs. Daniel White, her daughter, Susan White, and Mary Hartz, 3 in number, went down to the huckleberry strip on Miller's farm for the purpose of gathering berries. They were there but a short time when they were startled by stones and clubs being thrown in the bushes. There was no person to be seen. After the first throwing, everything was quiet. The women folks then heard strange screeching and unearthly noises resembling the hum of a steam engine. They were frightened almost to death and stood riveted on the spot, white with fear and trembling. Then of a sudden the air seemed filled with light and transparent shadows that flitted about under the trees and above the heads of the frightened females. Then came slaps, quick and sharp, and the young ladies frequently received smacks on the sides of their faces, while Mrs. White received a hard blow on the back with a large piece of bark. The folks could not run, but were obliged to stand still and take it. They were with the spirits for nearly an hour before they could get out of the woods and hurry on towards home. They came back terribly alarmed and frightened. Miss White was considerably bruised about the sides, she having been struck several times. I inquired whether the woman had so stated the case. Yes, yes, answered several men in the barroom. This comes directly from Mrs. White, who would not tell a lie for the world. A friend of Miss Hart's said, I know Miss Hart's very well. She is a very sensible young lady. She returned from the burying party very much frightened. She did not receive any injuries, but she saw spirits running about through the bushes, screaming and making other unearthly noises. What did she say a spirit resembled? I inquired. The young man continued, She says that the objects she saw had human faces, white flowing gowns, and wore long hair. They were comparatively small and very indistinct, so much so that she could not make out who they resembled. Certain she was, however, that they were the spirits of human people. One kissed her on her left hand, which still bears the mark. It is red, and a dark streak is on the outside of it. 1873 in Pennsylvania, that is an intense, what, in another time would have been called a fairy encounter. They're seeing little beings. She describes them as little beings, indistinct. They're caught in place. They cannot move, like they're caught in a fairy circle. They're obliged to just stand there with the spirits, with what they call the spirits, and take it. The humming sound, what they describe as a steam engine. This is in many fairy encounters and Bigfoot encounters and UFO encounters. It's there. The things being thrown at them, it's all there. There's a second part where the men go back with them and they too experience this. Things are thrown at them and a bad smell accompanies that. I think they call it a strange smell accompanies that. So the smell is there on the second return. This is, again, from 1873. We have the benefit of podcasts and radio shows and books now where I would say, if I want to make up a Bigfoot encounter, I know what to include. I could fake one, a report of one. I know all the elements to put in there. They did not know that back in 18. They didn't know what to include. The fact that they check every box, even the berry picking, they're going berry picking, and this happens. So you have the berry picking, you have the humming sound, you have the objects being thrown, and this mark on her hand, which is, in many other fairy encounters, people get, kissed or otherwise touched, and they leave a mark on their hand. But it has its resonance with alien implants, right? Like they leave a mark, they're left with a mark from these things. So this reporter who wrote this article, I truly believe would not known to have included all these things. He wouldn't have had the resources. And this article just checks every single box down the line. It's incredible. Really incredible.
Do you think fairies are tricksters, pranksters, little beings that tend to try and get even with you?
I think they can be. I think if you break the rules of folklore, you're in for it. I've had an instance myself where I think I broke the rules and it was pretty intense and I did not like it. I'll say that. But I think they can be. I don't think that's their only reason. I think they can be nasty and grumpy and mean, or they can be helpful. Even there's a lot of folklore about these sort of spirits of the house. Boy, they have Pennsylvania Dutch names like Brunel Memi, I think it is. It's a sort of a spirit of the household, and if you treat her right, and she will, all your food will turn out well, and your milk won't spoil and so forth. But if you do not, then your milk will go sour, and these things will happen and so forth. So there's stories about it. about this kind of stuff going either way with these things. They're mischievous, for certain.
For sure. The last thing you want is to buy a new 4-liter jug of milk, or 1 gallon in U.S. terms. And next thing you know, you've upset the fairies and they have spoiled your milk. Milk's expensive these days. You can't take chances like that. Timothy Renner is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. 1 hour down. We got him for another hour here where we're going to get into more legends, folklore from Pennsylvania on down. His website is strangefamiliars.com. You can get all of his books right there. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, my friend, we got about 5.5 minutes. We're just going to play a video and we'll be right back, okay?
Our merch is Bigfoot approved. We have t-shirts, we have mugs, we have hoodies, we have socks, we have hats, we have stickers, and so much more. Whatever you're looking for, we have you covered. Why just be a fan of the paranormal when you can buy Spaced Out Radio merch and look the part? Our merch ain't ugly, folks. Check out the Spaced Out Radio store. Find the link in the description below.
Lurking within the forested region of the 108-mile ranch, where the worlds of the normal and paranormal collide. CaribouCon is waiting for you, bringing together a panel of renowned experts in the paranormal, cryptid research, and UFO phenomena fields. Get ready for a spine-tingling weekend in the heart of British Columbia. Enjoy fascinating discussions, presentations, tours of local haunted areas, and skywatching. Learn from investigators, authors, and enthusiasts who explore everything from ghost hunting techniques to sightings of Sasquatch and beyond. Whether you're a seasoned paranormal researcher or just love a good spooky story, this is your chance to connect with fellow enthusiasts in one of BC's most mysterious areas. Tickets are on sale now. Grab yours before they're gone. Visit cariboucon.com for details, tickets, and updates.
Are you ready to dive into the weird and wonderful world of cryptids, cartoons, and chaos? Meet Dirty Filth, Spaced Out Radio's resident cartoonist and master of the mysterious. Every Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific, join him live on the Spaced Out Radio YouTube channel for Cryptid Cartoons with Dirty Filth, a hilarious hour where he sketches bizarre beasts, shares mind-bending stories, and battles his mischievous cats. Whether you're a UFO enthusiast, paranormal fan, or just love quirky art, Dirty Filth filters the universe through his unique lens, creating cartoons that capture the strange, dark, and supernatural. Follow Dirty Filth on X at Filth1 or Facebook at Dear Filth for more filthy fun. Find his link in the description below.
Spaced Out Radio wants to hear from you. We love our community, and your voice truly matters. Drop a comment after every show and let us know what you thought. Agree with our guests? Tell us why. Disagree? We want to hear that too. We read every single comment. Jump into the live chat during the broadcast and be part of the conversation in real time. Got a killer topic idea? Your suggestions help shape the show. And if you want to take it even further, join our Patreon for bonus content and direct feedback opportunities with Dave and the team. This is your show as much as it is ours. Whether you're a longtime listener or brand new, we want your thoughts, your questions, and your ideas. And let's keep building this incredible community together. Spaced Out Radio, where the conversation never ends. What are you waiting for? We're listening.
With 5 explorable Gold Rush era buildings said to be home to spirits of a time forgotten, the 108-mile heritage site in the heart of BC's Caribou region offers a unique opportunity for thrill seekers and history buffs. For an evening of historical fun, step into our guided ghost tours, where spine-chilling stories of Gold Rush legends and unexplained encounters come alive. For those craving even more, inquire with us about conducting a hands-on paranormal investigation of your own. And if you're truly brave, book our haunted sleepovers. Spend the night at our B&B inside the McNeil House to truly experience this historical landmark and its ghostly secrets firsthand. For booking or inquiries, go to haunted108.com.
All right, we bring in Timothy Renner here once again. Thank you tonight to our super chatters, T-Bone and Kitty. Thank you very much for your love and support. Eva, how you doing? Nice to see you. And who else has jumped in here late? Hillbilly Herb, thank you for coming on in. And Beth Noyes, always a pleasure to have you here. And am I missing anybody else? I think we're caught up right there, people. We're caught up. We're coming back in 10 seconds. So let's sit back, relax, and get ready for some fun here. What's a good one? Missouri Man, how are you? Nice to see you. Here we go. Welcome to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for allowing us to earn your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Timothy Renner is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Before we bring him on in to talk monsters and legends around Pennsylvania, we want to say hello to all of you listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Gallipot. Gallipot is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Now, our guest is a folklorist. He is a legend tripper. He is a podcaster, an experiencer, a researcher. He wears a lot of titles, but that's why he's one of the best. His website, strangefamiliars.com. Timothy Renner, it is always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio.
Thank you for having me back.
We're getting into some legends and folklore. Right before the break, we were talking about the fairies that seem to wander around the state of Pennsylvania and whether or not they were tricksters or not. Have you ever been called out of your house or in a forest, been called out and heard the fairies trying to lure you?
I've not heard my name, there's folklore that crosses many cultures. This is don't follow the lights. I think that might be shorthand. For instance, when I was young, I was told don't eat any red berry you find in the woods. That's not exactly true. There are plenty of red berries you can eat in the woods. However, if you're not going to learn the right plants to eat, it's a good shorthand lesson. You don't eat any red berries you find in the woods if you're not going to learn the right ones that you can eat. And I believe it might be that sort of folklore like that. Don't follow the lights unless, you're one of the people called to do this and you can do it safely and so forth. So I have followed the lights. I've I've been called in as much as I've heard things and felt the desire to follow them and so forth. But I've not had that, where I heard my name or anything like that.
What about skinwalkers or wendigos?
Yeah, I purposely. So a big part of this book is about the sort of melting pot of folklore here. The Irish people came.
Yes.
They brought the leprechauns, and they brought the their goblins and the banshee and so forth, and the Cornish people came and brought the Tommyknockers and the mines, and the German people brought their folklore and so forth. So it is a melting pot here, and I don't know whether it's the fact that very early on in the eastern states, the Native Americans, the indigenous people, were forced out. Let's be real, and there wasn't a lot of concern for preserving their folklore. So that may be part of it. The other part of it is, I think, as culture is bound up in this, I think it may be somewhat logical for a person with Irish heritage to look at a little person and see, a goblin or whatever comes from their, leprechaun or whatever comes from their culture, as opposed to Pukwudgie, one of the umpteen, native names for little people. So I'm careful about it. And this isn't me telling people don't use this word or don't use that word. It's not really about cultural appropriation. It's just about wondering that maybe it's more natural. Just like, I don't blame people for seeing it, things that come from their own culture, or speaking about it in terms of their own culture. And I don't know that, skinwalkers and Wendigo were even a part of the native culture that we're here. And by I don't know, I mean, literally, I don't know that. There's not a lot, like the Susquehannocks in the area where I was, their language is gone. There are a few people who claim Susquehannock heritage, but they're very few in number. There's just not a lot left from what we know that they believed. So I kind of, didn't do a lot with the native stuff, because it's just, there's not a lot there, unfortunately, to talk about.
That's surprising. That is, to me, that's very surprising considering the rich history of the area. But you mentioned leprechauns. Okay, I think this is one that we think of Ireland and the Irish legends and folklore. Yet you believe that they have made their way into Pennsylvania as well.
Yeah, there's a great story. So Brother Richard, a frequent guest on Strange Familiars, he writes the foreword to this book, and he tells of a fairy story from Ireland, where basically this family ticks off their local fairy, their household spirit, and everything's going wrong. It's the house is a mess, and the milk's going sour, and et cetera, et cetera. So they pick up and move. And they're on the way. They're literally, like, they have their stuff and they're moving, and they hear this little voice say, where are you going? Where are we moving to? And they know right then, like, oh, we don't get to escape this. This is coming with us. So they go right back and, go back to their house and stay there. I think this stuff comes with people. And there's the other, as I call it, it doesn't pay attention to country borders or county borders or anything else. It goes where it wants to go, and it manifests where it wants to go. So yeah, it came with them. Now, I don't think these, they hid in the bottom of their luggage or hung on to the mass of ships as they came across. I don't think it works like that. But however it does work, these things came, and there are leprechaun stories, or more. I had a whole chapter on banshees. I never thought I'd find that many banshee stories here, but they very specifically talk about these Irish families and say, no, this has been with our family. It was with our family in Ireland. We came here. It's still with us. And when the banshee screams or cries, depending on the case, we know someone in our family is going to die.
Are leprechauns just as trickster-like as the fairy folk?
They can be. There's a great story in here. They're capricious, I guess. They can be trickstery, or they can be helpful. There's a great story in here for the 1920s as a Irish family in Pittsburgh. And this young lady is cleaning up her room, and she moves her bed to one side of the room and sweeps under it, and goes to move it back. And this little guy in a green suit appears out of nowhere and pushes her bed back away from to where she had moved it to sweep. And she pushes it back into the old position, and he pushes it back again. And they go through this several times to the point where she finally gives up and leaves the bed in the new position where she had moved it to sweep. And she tells her father about it, and she says, "Well, he says you were seeing things like, come on." Well, that night the ceiling fell in, and it fell in right above where her bed would have been if it hadn't been moved. So that's this great story about the sort of mischievousness of these things. There's another story that my friend collected, and it's called Protection from Apes. And I like this because it kind of brings in the Bigfoot thing, but it's also about what sounds like a gnome or some sort of little person. So this was collected by Tyler Strand, who people might know from the Hellier movie and the Unbinding documentary. And Tyler was at a UFO and Bigfoot event in Western Pennsylvania, and someone told him this story, and Tyler told it on Strange Familiars, and this is the quote. And he talks about this woman. So this story was given to him by a witness attending this event in Pennsylvania. And quote from Tyler: "What she told me is that her cousin, when she was little, was playing inside of her garage. I think she was between 8 or 12 years old, in that age range. She was playing in her garage alone, and on the floor of the garage there was a manhole cover for drainage. A perforated manhole cover. And while she's playing, the cover starts to rattle and shake, and it slides open, and out crawls a little man, a little old man. It sounds like a gnome. The girl looks at him, and they both lock eyes, and out of nowhere they start wrestling each other and fighting. She said my cousin, after they're rolling around and tussling for 5 minutes, they both sort of stop and look at each other, and they start laughing. This little man said, 'You know what? I'm going to give you a gift, the protection from apes.' And she said, ever since that day, my cousin has been haunted by seeing things that look like Bigfoot walking in the periphery of her yard. It gets weirder. She said a mist will appear, and they will literally form out of the mist. She said, I had sleepovers with my cousin, and I saw this firsthand. A mist appeared inside her room, and this thing that looked like a monkey-human hybrid manifested out of the mist with glowing green eyes and hovered there before it vanished." My commentary on this is, in that wondrous strange way in which the other conducts itself, the gift of the gnome-like being would seem at first to be granting the girl protection from assaults of simian things. However, as these ape-like things have appeared around her in the wake of her wrestling match with the gnome, it seems she was given instead apes as her protector. So instead of protection from apes, she was given protection, from apes. So that's like the way this stuff works. It's always playing with words. It's giving you not what you expect. It's it's the old contract with the devil. There's always something in there that's gonna be a little off.
What about gifting with these creatures? Does that seem to work?
So I wrote a lot more about that in Where the Footprints End. I believe in volume 1 of, it might be in volume 2. In one of the 2 volumes of Where the Footprints End, my book that deals with the strange aspects of Bigfoot. I wrote a lot about gifting. I would be careful with gifting with people, and I say if you can avoid it, don't gift food, because that's where problems come. Doesn't
Agreed.
seem to be a problem with items. Like you were saying, that if you're leaving coins and little trinkets and stuff, that doesn't seem to be a problem. I would ask people maybe don't leave like plastic and stuff that's bad for the environment out there. But otherwise, if it's a natural item, something wooden or a coin, something metal, I think it's fine to do that. Don't overdo it. Don't leave 50 things out, on a stump or something. I think that's fine. And I think it's very interesting what happens. Often you will get some very interesting results from that. But again, the folklore says food can be an issue. And that being that once you start with food, you have to continue. If you stop, that's when the problems will happen.
I would agree with that. Like, we will not gift food at ours, but that's mainly because we don't want any animals. We got grizzly bears there. We got black bears.
Yeah.
We have moose. We have wolves. We have mountain lions, lynx, you name it. We have them in our area. That's why we stick away from food. However, I am going to tell you, I am very curious about a jar of peanut butter. Peanut butter, I may make the exception for peanut butter just to see how that goes, but I don't know. I'm very curious.
I would advise against it. Like I said, just because it seems there's something to do with intention of this, but once you start with food, it seems like when you stop. So when I was talking about when I had my problem, I had started with food and I escalated to alcohol. And the food was disappearing, and I found this little glass bottle with a cork, and I thought, well, I'll fill this with alcohol. And the only thing I had was wine in the house, so I filled it with wine. There was an area, it was a cairn, a stack of stones that I'd been leaving these gifts at. It was off trail, these huge boulders that I found, just like very big, that have been shoved into the crotch of this tree. Below these boulders, there was a hole in the tree that I could drop things into, but I couldn't fit my hand in. Now a child could fit their hand in there, but not me. And I dropped this bottle of alcohol in there, and I asked for something. Again, this is a folklore. No, I did not know this at the time. I found this out through my research later. But I asked for something. I said, I would like a skull today. This is in the middle of all this skull stuff I mentioned earlier. And went off in my merry way. And I saw in this place I've hiked 1,000 times for 25, 30 years or more than that maybe. I thought I knew every trail and every part of this park. I look over and I see this stand of trees I'd never been in before. It's like a circle of trees in the middle of a field. And for whatever reason, I'm going in there today. And I walk into that tree, those trees, and there's a mound of stones in there. And I start walking up this mound of stones, and I see little tufts of hair, little tufts of fur. And then I see the freshly killed head of a groundhog with the jaw torn off and the head next to it, covered in gore. And that's not what I meant. Again, here's something, it answered me to the letter. It gave me a skull. Now the skull was covered in gore. My intention was that I didn't want that. I wanted a nice, clean, sun-bleached skull. I don't like gore and stuff like that. I didn't want that. But I didn't specify that either. It gave me what I asked for. Shocked I was by this. This is 10 minutes later. I don't see any predators around. What I don't see the rest of the groundhog. What is happening? Shocked me to the core. And I back out of this place, literally like kind of stunned. It was either the next time or a couple times after that, I was in this park and I was hiking there with my son. The night before, I was on a friend's podcast and we were talking about several things. We had brought up Seth Breedlove and his movies. We had brought up The Lord of the Rings. And when we were talking about raccoons, and my friend was from the South, and he told me this old Southern legend about how to catch a raccoon. You put something shiny in a jug, it'll reach in to grab it, and you'll find him in the morning with his hand in the jug holding the shiny thing that he can't pull out of the jug. Sort of raccoon folklore. I got off with him literally late at night because I had promised my son I would hike with him the next day at this place where I'd been gifting. So I get up the next day and I go to hike with my son. We park at a place called the Crossroads parking lot. So we're literally at a crossroads. I go off with my son and I'm hiking, and we have this day, and it's time to go back to the vehicle. Which way do you want to go back? There's a main way and there's sort of a side path, and he will always choose the more remote way. And he does that. And he's in much better shape than I. So he's usually, 30 yards, 20 yards ahead of me when we're hiking. And I'm behind him and I see him stop and I see he's looking at something. And I get up to him and I said, what are you looking at there? And it's a raccoon during the daylight, and it's looking right at us. And I said, ooh, yeah, he shouldn't be out during the day. Let's take another trail. And we turn around and I hear this thing behind me. And I look back and it's going full speed right for us. And I told my son, all right, run. And I know I have to put myself between the raccoon and my son at this point. And I had a walking staff with me, thankfully. And I had one shot to get this thing. And this may have been divine intervention. I don't know. I don't know that it was skill. I don't know what it was, but I broke its neck before it got to me with the first hit. But it was rabid, and it would have done some damage. And to ease the tension, when I got to my son, I was trying to ease the tension. I knew he was very, very scared. In fact, he said that, and I didn't even realize I did this. He said later on, he's like, Dad, I heard your battle cry when you were fighting that thing. He's like, I never want to hear that again. It was horrifying. I had no clue. I screamed or yelled at all when this happened. I was, I guess, in the moment. But in any case, to sort of break the tension, and I said, I only regret not yelling, you shall not pass, when I brought my staff down about, on this creature. So I mentioned the Lord of the Rings in doing this. And we get back to the parking lot, and I think, well, we better call a park ranger because it's a rabid animal attack. They probably want to know. So called a park ranger, and he shows up, and his name is Breedlove on his tag. And I realized this is everything we talked about. We talked about the raccoon. We talked about Seth Breedlove. We talked about the Lord of the Rings on the conversation. And all of these synchronicities just hit me at once. And something doesn't feel right about this. I'm overwhelmed with in this intense feeling of like, this is yucky. Something's not right. Something's not right. And it was only later, doing through my research that I realized, like, oh, I asked for something which you're never supposed to do. It literally, the folklore says, don't ask outright for things, but by God, if you do and it's given to you, you better take it. It's a big offense if you don't take it. Well, I asked for something and I got it, and I didn't take it. And I really feel like that whole, just all the synchronicities around that and all the icky feelings, I really feel like I was sort of being spanked by the phenomena for breaking the rules. So be careful with gifting.
Definitely. Would you leave gifts for other creatures outside of Bigfoot? Would you try it with?
Yeah, we've tried all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, who knows what's taken them? Who knows, But yeah, we've tried in many cases with that to various degrees of success.
Okay. What about like gnomes or anything? Because I've heard that, even First Nations have said, people that I've talked to in my area talk about the little people, how the little people, if they feel you've wronged them, you have to gift them.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a lot of folks like that, and and there is some explicit folklore that says, leave milk out for this one. So they do talk about food. That's usually for household spirits, though, and I don't know if it's different than these quote unquote wilder things that are out in the wilderness. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly done, and you have to. I mean, I apologize to the land. I don't, after I kind of figured out what was going on, and tried to make amends as best as I could. Hopefully it was accepted. I've been hiking there several times since, and some weird stuff has happened, but nothing bad. So hopefully it's done well. But yeah, I would say certainly appeasing the spirits is probably not a bad thing if you've upset them or wronged them in some way.
Timothy Renner is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to break here in about 2 minutes. Timothy, there are so many different creatures involved in the Pennsylvania area. What are some of the scarier ones that you've had to investigate?
Well, these, what people are calling dogman, there's some pretty frightening encounters with these, and people are definitely affected by this. Like, you can tell people are upset by these things. What they are is a question. Again, being a folklore guy, I think we had a perfectly good name for these things for hundreds of years. We called them werewolves, and now we talk about them as if they're something different. They may be, I don't know, but whatever they are, they're really upsetting people and really scaring people. So those seem pretty intense.
That is the one creature I want nothing to do with. There's just something about them that creeps me out.
Yeah,
don't want to see one. Don't want anything to do with them.
Yeah, I mean, according to the stories, if the effect is what almost literally every encounter I've ever heard, people have been terrified. Now most of them, they're not being attacked, but just they're overcome with this intense intimidation and fear. That I can't think of one where it went another way. Maybe one or two, but most of the ones that stick with me are people who are just like, no, this thing was horrifying.
Why do you think there's such an intimidation factor with these?
Maybe these things want to get some kind of reaction, and fear is a pretty powerful thing and somewhat easy reaction to get. If you're an unusual, we're not expecting these things to be there, and maybe that reaction is powerful. I don't know. Again, they don't seem to be, attacking people as far as I know, but they're certainly intimidating them. So what do they get from that?
Yeah, that is the big one for me, is why the intimidation factor? Why is it so edgy and scary and wanting to always like act like a house cat that wants to tear your eyeballs out?
Yeah.
Like that's the part I don't get.
Yeah, I
is-
mean, the stories I'm like just getting in people's faces and growling and stuff. It's just like who wants that? You know?
right? Like if you're gonna do that, at least attack. Like, come on.
I don't know. Maybe I'll take the growling over the attack. I don't know.
Oh, me too. But I mean, I just do not want to see one. I
Yeah,
just do not want to see one. Tim, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. Timothy Renner. We have until the top of the hour right here on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. Big thank you to Super Duke for joining us. Maya Starfire, welcome back. And who else has joined us late here? Taking a quick look. Taking a quick peek. I think that's it for our chat room. But if you are hanging on out, do us a favor. Give us a thumbs up. It does help with the algorithms as we continue to grow our channel. And if you have any questions for Tim, put them in capital letters. I will get 2 questions to him, for him, at him in the next half hour. So put them in capital letters. And we kind of go from there. Is there any specific topics you want to get to in the next half hour?
No, I'm open to anything. I mean, if you want me to hit, I'm trying to see if I have a couple more articles. None of them are going to be as good as the one I read. There's there's other stuff in the book. There's the women in black phenomena that popped up around the mines, which is pretty interesting. May or may not have been a banshee-like spirit, precursor of doom that popped up in the late 1800s. That's kind of neat stuff. Then there's the black dog apparitions are in the book, but I'm happy to talk about anything. We don't have to stick to the book either. I'm happy to talk about more of my experiences or whatever.
I know you're good that way. You're good that way. Give me 2 seconds here.
I have a pretty neat experience from when I went to Pine Ridge Reservation to gather Bigfoot stories. But it's the problem with this stuff is always a spider web. It's never like a nice, clean, like easy, straight line you can tell a story. But so
right.
it's kind of involved, but I can definitely get into that if you want.
Sure. We can do that.
Or if there's enough questions, we can take questions. Yeah, however you want to do it. I'm good.
We can take them all. We can take them all.
And that involves at the end of that story, well, sort of the end, near the end of that story, it involves I didn't get words. I didn't get like what I call mind speak, but I got a very distinct feeling, a very distinct message that came through to me.
Love when that happens.
Yeah, it was very neat. It was really, really neat. It also left me with some questions, but that's the way this stuff is. You're never going to get all the answers, and it's always going to give you, again, it's like the protection from apes thing, It's never clear what they mean until later on. Then you feel, oh, that's what they meant. What's on the shirt there behind you? That one, the Ace of Spades there.
That is Guns N' Roses No Trickery Tour 2012.
Okay.
In Las Vegas at the Hard Rock Hotel Residency.
Okay. I couldn't see. I saw a cowboy hat. I didn't know if
it was Axel. So it's an A and an R.
Oh, I couldn't see the R down there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Last time I was in Vancouver to see GNR on their last tour, I wore that shirt in. I probably had 5 people come up to me. Where did you get that? I've never seen that concert shirt before. I'm like, Vegas, man. No trickery. I think I'm the only dude around who liked the Replacements better than the band when they reunited.
Mm.
But that's just me. I'm biased. I mean, Ron Bumblefoot Thal does my music, so I'm a little biased.
There you go.
That. We got 30 seconds. Thank you to T-Bone. Thank you to Kitty Cattywhack, our 2 super chatters for the night. Linda, how are you tonight? We appreciate you. Yes, we do. 20 seconds. Here we go. We're into the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, Pennsylvania Legends and Folklore, author, researcher, experiencer, podcaster. Timothy Renner is here. Strange Familiars is his website, strangefamiliars.com. Before we get started in this half hour, Timothy, do me a favor. Tell everybody where they can find your book.
So the new book is called The Keystone Hagstone, Fairies and Other Mysterious Entities of Pennsylvania. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at your local bookstore. You can get it directly from me, from my Etsy shop, lostgrave.etsy.com. If you want a signed copy, that's where to go to get it. And I'm happy to sign them. Don't charge any extra for a signing, but if you want a little sketch, there is an option there. I'll do a little sketch for you. That's a little bit extra.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you for telling our audience that as well. Getting into the monster aspect of everything, we've kind of stopped with the last half hour with the Dogman. Now, the late Butch Witkowski, who used to do this show each and every month on a segment we called Strange Days. And it's funny, I have, if you listen to the end of the YouTube segment of this show, I actually still have recorded Butch's final words to me.
Oh, neat.
Before he passed away. And anyways, he always said that there was a big difference between these dogman-like creatures and these giant, what he called bipedal canines that were running around the lichen loop, as he said. Have you ever investigated that?
Well, I knew Butch, and we were supposed to do some of that together, and it was one of those things we just never got around to it. You know, he didn't live far from me, and I'd met him several times, and it was always a thing where like, yeah, we should do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. And it's, I really regret putting that off. I don't, I haven't really dug in. I'm about to, about to. We'll see. When I get to it, I'm writing a book on werewolves in Pennsylvania. They're one of the things I left out of this book specifically because I want to write a whole book on werewolves and wolf-like things in Pennsylvania. Of which I'm sure, Dogman has to at least be mentioned in there. So I plan to get in a little deeper, but is he saying the difference was between so I know some people will talk about the difference between them as some of them have the hocked legs, the sort of dog-like legs. Some of them have the straight legs. Is that where he was drawing the lines?
Yeah, he said they were bigger and meaner.
Oh,
he said they were 7 to 8 feet tall. They would give these really belligerent type of telepathy to people who had encounters with them, basically saying, get out of here if you want to live, and all sorts of, strange, hardcore messages like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that sounds in line with a lot of the stuff I've heard, but yeah, I don't know that I would draw that line, but I understand what, I guess why he would, for sure.
Do you think there is, just on your personal opinion, do you think there is a difference between the dog man and the bipedal canine?
If there's a physical appearance difference, like I said, with the hawk legs versus the more dog-like legs, I suppose. But I mean, the stories I've heard, yeah, it seems like if it has a dog head or a dog-like head, it's fairly aggressive, you know. So yes, it's a hard distinction to make, and where do we draw the line? There people, a lot of these people are saying some of these Bigfoot types have an almost canine-like face, the difference being they don't have the pointed ears on the top of their head or something, but otherwise it seems like a Bigfoot. It's really weird stuff. These things manifest however they manifest, maybe.
One of the big creatures that I just do not understand from Pennsylvania folklore is this creature called the squonk. What the heck is a squonk? The only thing that I've learned about this thing is apparently it's really ugly, like my former and mother-in-law type, covered in warts and loose skin. Describes my ex-mother-in-law perfectly.
There was a book, I forget what it was called, something Creatures of the Lumberlands or something like that. Back in I think it's late 1800s, maybe early 1900s. And it was filled with some actual creatures that came from folklore, like the hide behind is in there, and that actually has its precedent in folklore and in something that the natives here talked about. When the European immigrants came, they said, be careful when you're in the forest. Don't be the last in line. If you are the last in line, you better be brave, because don't look behind you. And that was sort of the lure of the hide behind, because if you did look behind, you'd see this thing. Presumably you get so frightened you'd be frozen, and then it would take you, or however it works. So that's in that same book. But then there's these other creatures that I don't know if anyone ever claimed to see, like the squonk. I really don't know if anyone ever. Now, the way this stuff works, I think in the future there will be squonk sightings, because it's become, again, part of the culture, and people talk about it and say it's a cryptid in Pennsylvania. But I question were there any historical sightings of this stuff, because I think some of the stuff in that book the guy just made up for fun, and some again was based on this real folklore that was there.
What brings out something like the squonk?
I don't know. It's for people who don't know. It's a very like pig-like thing that cries. Supposedly it cries because its own reflection is so ugly or something like this. And people hear it. But there's lots of certainly lots of folklore things crying in the forest. Maybe this came from people hearing something crying in the forest, and they just assign this thing to it. But yeah, I mean, the way things work, I would not be surprised if there aren't some actual squonk sightings sometime soon, because it's become part of this this sort of story of Pennsylvania now.
And one other one, this one sounds kind of weird to me, is the Alba Witch, or
the Albatwitch. The Albatwitch, yeah. So this is our local little person. Now people often say the name it's like some sort of Pennsylvania Dutchified version of apple snitch or an apple stealer. That is not it at all. It's a German. Alb is German for elf. This is the Pennsylvania Dutch term. And I think because there are stories of the Susquehannock Indians, their shields having what they call devils painted on them. They never came out right and said these are, the same thing. But I think that's what they were referencing when they said that. I've found stories of in Maryland, just south of the Pennsylvania line in Maryland, of these little hairy things, again, along the Susquehanna River from the 1860s or something. People were calling them Pukwudgimanis, which sounds very close to Pukwudgie. But here in where they spoke German, they spoke Pennsylvania Dutch, which is related to German. They called him the Albatwitch. And there were stories of it in the legends. Hairy things. They liked apples. Sometimes they would throw apples at people. And there's stories today, several modern stories of people seeing these things along the river on both sides of the river, on the York County side, the Lancaster County side. People have had encounters with these things, very skinny, hair covered things, glowing eyes. Sometimes they don't, speak about the eyes. Not far from where I live, a lady had reported one on Lon Strickler's site on Phantoms and Monsters a few years back, kind of just running through through a construction site. And we have a event here every year. It's Albatwitch Day, our little sort of our Mothman festival, right? So celebrating our local thing. And a guy came up to me one time, and he actually had the encounters in the town where I live, and he looked shook. He was a grown man, and his daughter literally led him to me and said, "Tell him your story." And he says, "I didn't think there was a name for this thing." He said, "I saw it twice. I saw it once when I was 8 years old. My brother and I were out playing, and it was in a field, like right beside our house. And it was so interesting." He said there was this little hairy thing, and it was standing there. And he said it had its eyes closed. And he said the impression he got, it was like a little kid, like, "You can't see me. My eyes are closed." And he said his brother got right up in this thing's face, and he grabbed his brother and said, "Get away from that," And years and years later, he's an adult. He's driving his pickup truck, and there's a junkyard in town here. And he said right across from this junkyard, this thing ran across the street in front of him, ran across the road right in front of him. And he said, I never thought I'd see it, much less see it twice. And then I never knew there was a name for it. And he was shook up. My wife is very skeptical. And that was one of the things that sort of made her reconsider a little bit. I say she's an honest skeptic now, because she turned to me after she was with me when he told me that story. And she turned to me and she said, "I don't know what he saw, but he saw something," And I was like, there you go. That's what I call honest skepticism. She's not ready to say there is an Albatwitch, but she's ready to say this guy saw something that affected him big time. He was shook.
Man, it still amazes me how shaken up people can get, long time outdoors people can get when they have an encounter. Because outdoors people, you either believe or you do not believe. It's hardcore one way or hardcore the other.
Mm-hmm.
I know in my area, I have people who claim to have seen Sasquatch, and they are adamant. They know what they saw. They've been out in the forest that long. But then I got loggers and hunters out here that just laugh at the fact. I've been hunting 50 years, never seen anything. It doesn't exist. I would know. I mean, but when they have that encounter, it's still amazing how people are just so shocking in their reaction.
Yeah, I often wonder, and I'm sure you've come across the guys who said, I was a hunter, I loved hunting, and I'll never go out in the woods again because I saw one of this thing, and it shook me to my core. I've had a fellow like that on my show. I've talked to some others as well. I wonder if they weren't the people who were those hardcore, like, it doesn't exist, I've been in the woods forever, and then they're confronted now with something that in their mind is impossible. And it shakes them to the core. I don't know, but I wonder if they were, previously those types are like, there's nothing out there. And then all of a sudden, there it is. And they have to sort of account for that. And a lot of, well, not a lot, but a few of these folks, they said, I'll never go in the woods again. You won't catch me in the woods.
Would you go back?
I've been back.
If you still claim that you haven't had a true encounter, nothing that you can be definitive on. If you had that definitive encounter, whether it's aliens, Bigfoot, Dogman, gnomes, whatever it may be, would you go back? How do you think you would react?
I think I would. I think I am ready for it. Now whether I get to have that or not, I don't know. I was Pine Ridge Reservation. I was collecting Bigfoot stories, and we had these guides, and they were wonderful people, one of which was a believer, the other was a skeptic. It's a husband and wife. Wife was a believer, husband was a skeptic. Literally everybody I talked to there had a story, pretty much, except for one or two people, the skeptic being one. Everybody else had a Bigfoot story. It was incredible time. It was wonderful. But we're there, and the first day they're driving us around, and outside of the town of Pine Ridge, in the hills, and it's just this beautiful landscape, and we're seeing wild horses and just all this wonderful stuff. And I said, hey, can we come back tonight? And they said, sure, come back tonight. So I went back there that night, and I'm driving up, and we're on this ridge, And they literally said, nobody's going to be out here. This will be a great place to hang out. Nobody will be here. Well, as we're driving up onto this ridge, it's not quite dark yet. It's kind of dusky. There's a hiker there with 4 or 5 dogs. And he's carrying a walking stick that was probably, I don't know, it's probably 2 feet above his head. It was a 7 or 8 foot high walking stick. About that big around, about 4 inches in diameter. Ridiculous. If you're a hiker, this is just a complete waste of calories. A ridiculous thing to be carrying around. And we drove by him, and my host said, just go up here and turn around and go back. And I thought, well, this guy's going to think we're coming back for him, for some reason. I don't know if this is a good idea, but he was the guide, he was the host, and I just did what he said and turned around and came back, and this guy's gone. And it was a minute. I know that because I timed it later in the trip. It took me a minute to drive up there, turn the car around, and drive back. And we get out of the car, and this guy's nowhere to be seen. We're on top of a ridgeline in any direction. I can't see him anywhere. And I turned to my buddy John, who was with me. I said, John, we should be able to see this guy, right? And John says, oh yeah. And I turned to our host, who again is a skeptic. I'm like, where'd this guy go? And he's like, oh, he probably just went down that trail down there. I'm like, well, no. Not where he went, how fast he got there. We should be able to see him. He's like, he probably went over there. He kind of dismisses it. Okay. And we're there, and, it gets dark, and the wind picks up. It's a very important part of the story for later. The wind picks up, heaviest wind the entire time I've been there. And the host has a spotlight, and he shines it in the field, and he hits something black, just black as can be in the field. When the spotlight hit this thing, I jumped. What is that? His wife screams. She lets out a scream. To me, it looked like something kind of just squatted over, like Mothman or something, like squatted over in the field. There's just this black shape. And he says, oh, that's an old car seat somebody left out there. Well, he's from there, so I took him at his word. I thought, okay, he knows what he's talking about. Dismissed it, didn't think anything else of it. Rest of the night, we spent up there, not much happens. We go. I go back to where we're staying at the hotel, and I go to sleep that night, and I have a dream, and everything in the dream's the same. I pass the hiker, everything's the same, but I go up, I turn around, I come back. But when I come back now, he's Bigfoot. And the size of the walking stick makes perfect sense because he's the right size for it. Wake up, I tell my friend John, I had this cool dream. Everything was the same. This hiker was Bigfoot. Go to collect some stories, and we go to see this older woman. She was the wife of a very well-known medicine man there. He had died, but she still had stories, and she invites us in her place. And the first thing she says to me is, I hear you want to collect Bigfoot stories or hear Bigfoot stories. I said, yeah, I do. And she looked at me and she said, you kind of look like Bigfoot.
Oh, nice.
And then she tells me all her stories. Now, what I should have mentioned to this hiker, when I looked over at him when we drove by, we were very close to him. And I made special note because he didn't look native to me. He didn't look like me, but he had my facial hair. I looked and went, he's got my facial hair. So the next day, this lady says, you kind of look like Bigfoot. Tells all these stories. At the end, she says, have you ever seen anything in the woods? Have you ever seen Bigfoot? And I gave her the same answer I gave you. I don't know. I've seen some big stuff. It moved fast. Can't say what I saw. I don't know. She says, have you ever thought about asking him? And I was like, asking him? She's like, yeah, just ask Bigfoot. Can I see you? And I said, no, but I will. Rest of our time there is lovely. We're gathering stories. The people were lovely. Everything was wonderful. Last day that we're there, they had a sort of community event where we bought food, and they're cooking all the food for us and making us fry bread and all this wonderful stuff. And they teach us how to set up a teepee in the traditional style. Once in a lifetime, kind of dream moment, like what in the heck is happening in my life? How lucky am I? Right. So we set up the teepee, and which they were greatly amused at how slow we were, because they said, but we can do this in seconds. And, we're just, it's taken us forever to do this. But they said, hey, you help put this teepee up. You can stay here tonight if you want. Well, heck yes. Yes is the answer. I will be back tonight. And we go back that night. And we're there with, a few people around. And at some point, it's my last night there, and I just want to enjoy the landscape. And I sort of step away, and I'm looking at this sort of hill, this kind of white hill. They call them Pahoskas. And earlier in the day, this guy, he's such a cool guy, and he told me this great story about being paced down that hill by a Bigfoot. So I'm literally looking at this hill, and I'm sort of like talking to whatever, to Bigfoot, to the land, whatever, and I'm saying, I'm ready to see you now. I'm ready to see you now. And then I realized I wasn't asking, and I rephrased it. I said, can I see you now? And I was hit. And I don't call this mind speak because I didn't hear words. It was a feeling in my heart. And the answer was, you already have. And I don't know what that means. And I don't know whether that means I already have in the past, that thing that was quick in the woods that I saw. I've seen eye shine before. Is that it? Was that what, I saw the eyes and that's it? Or was it this hiker we saw? Was he a shapeshifter, a shapeshifting Bigfoot or something? Was it referencing that? I'll get back to that. But I'm hit with this immediate sort of answer. And like, I call it heart speak. There's this feeling of, you already have. Okay. What does that mean? Anyway, following day, our last day there. What do you want to do? I want to go up on that ridge and just see that area again. I want to time how long it takes the car to turn around, and I want my friend John to get out and try to disappear in the amount of time. So I led him out where the hiker was, go up and turn around. I timed it. It's a minute. Get out of the car. John's still in sight. Easy to see. He could not get outside. And our skeptical host is running around through the field, and he's pointing at footprints. Oh, the hiker could have gone here and he could have gone there. And I'm trying to keep up with him. He's faster than John. John's faster than me. By the time I get there, there's 3 sets of footprints beyond whatever this guy's trying to say. Here's where the hiker was. So I just give up after the point. I'm like, and again, I'm trying to tell him it's not where he went, man. It's how fast he got there, And I just said, you know what? I'm just going to walk around and enjoy the day and enjoy being here. So I'm sort of just walking around, just enjoying this field. And I'm walking through it, and I'm looking around, and I'm cleaning up some trash that is left there. So I don't think anybody goes out regularly and cleans this up. This is not me admonishing anyone. I'm just saying what I'm doing, and the fact that I don't think anyone was in between that could have cleaned up these car seats that were supposedly there. And I realized there's no car seats there. And I call John over, and I said, John, come here. And John comes over, and I said, I got a question for you. Where are those car seats? And he looks around, and he says, they're not here. And I said, yeah. And I called our host over. I said, hey, where are those car seats? And he says, well, they just blew over in the wind. It was windier that night than any other time we were there. So I don't know what I saw. I don't know if this hiker somehow shapeshifted into this black form that then we saw. And I don't know if this message I got was that, was that a shapeshifting Sasquatch that was the message you already have? The woman, the native woman, said she had been told, and I don't know how she got this message, that we would have a sighting when we were there, and we would see something from the car. Well, we certainly saw that hiker from the car. Then I asked everybody in the car. I just assumed we all saw the same thing. I said, wait a minute. Now when I need to know, what did you see? What did you see? What did you see? It's 5 of us in the car, right? 1, 2, John, me, Lucinda, and our guides. Yeah, there's 5 of us in the car. Everybody saw something different. They agreed he was a hiker with a big giant staff, but the woman said, oh, I thought he was Hispanic. Lucinda said, oh, he looked like a hippie from Northern California, and he was wearing sunglasses. He thought he was Joe Cool. And John says, sunglasses? No, he turned and looked me right in the eyes when we drove by. He wasn't wearing sunglasses. I looked him right in the eyes. So we could not agree on what this hiker looked like, other than he was a hiker with a giant walking stick. So something strange went on there. Something really, really strange happened there. It's really neat. I don't know what it is, but I did get the answer. You already have. Does that mean I don't get to see Bigfoot again? Does that mean I have in the past? What does that mean? That's the kind of answers you get from this stuff.
Tim, we got about 20 seconds. Let everybody once again find out where they can find your book.
Sure. Strangefamiliars.com will link you to all the different places. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at your local bookstore. Just please do get it. It's called The Keystone Hagstone.
So I would love you. We got to bring you on a little bit sooner than another 7 years.
Absolutely.
Thank you, my friend.
Sure thing.
Timothy
Thank you.
Renner, everybody. As we remind you, his website, strangefamiliars.com. Go get his books there. Swamp Dweller and Robin Haynes in hour 3 next.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Great job tonight, Tim.
Sure thing. Thank you. Thanks so much.
I wanted to get into more Sasquatch with you, but we'll have to do that another time.
Absolutely. If you want to do just a Bigfoot show one time, I'm happy to do it. All Bigfoot with you.
Let's do it. I'll let Filthy know.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks
Have
so
a good
much.
night, my friend. Take
All
care.
right. We'll see you.
Bye.
Stop now! You are under arrest! Hands up! Don't move!
Don't get caught without your Spaced Out Radio merchandise. We have t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, socks, hats, stickers, and so much more. Whatever you're looking for, we have you covered. Why just be a fan of the paranormal when you can look the part? We don't have ugly merch, folks. Check out the Spaced Out Radio store. Find the link in the description below.
Dirty filth. Dirty filth. Dirty filth.
Object is heading north 045 degrees. It's definitely not a plane. It seems to be tethered to something. Is that a banner, Joe? Caribou Con. Does anyone know what Caribou Con is?
Caribou Con, one of the BC Caribou region's best-kept secrets. Until now. Join our panel of renowned paranormal experts for a weekend of fun and intriguing presentations. Go to cariboucon.com to book or inquire now.
Over here. Look at this.
Discover Spaced Out Radio on all your favorite platforms. We're live every single night with the best in UFOs, cryptids, paranormal, and the unexplained. And you can find us on all your favorite platforms. Head over to Instagram for behind the scenes and daily weirdness, TikTok for quick mind-bending clips, Facebook for community discussions, and X for real-time updates and hot takes. Wherever you scroll, Spaced Out Radio is there. So go search Spaced Out Radio on every platform, hit follow, and turn on notifications so you never miss a single episode. The Weird is waiting. See you there.
The McNeil House is one of several buildings at the 108-mile heritage site said to be haunted by spirits of a time long forgotten. But would you stay the night? Along with guided ghost tours and paranormal investigations, Haunted 108 is offering a chance to spend the entire night inside the historic McNeil House by booking one of our B&B style sleepovers, where you can experience the hauntings firsthand, meet the resident ghost cat, and witness unusual activity. If you dare to turn history into a night you'll never forget, book your spot now at haunted108.com. Spots are limited. Will you be brave enough?
Get ready for the third hour here. Let's bring in Robin. Hi, Robin.
Hey, sweetie, how are you?
I am excellent. Your hair looks fantastic tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hold on, I got something in my eye here. There we go. Thank you to our super chatters tonight, T-Bone and Kitty. We appreciate you guys. Thank you to everybody who has given us a thumbs up. Miss Tessa Marie, how are you tonight? Nice to see you. Blackthorn, always a pleasure. Yes, all Canadians like the Dave's skit on Kids in the Hall. That's old school Canada right there. Loving Death, welcome to our chat. Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We really appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We're going to bring in Robin Haynes right after Swamp Dweller to kick off hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio. But first, we want to say hello to all of you listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Galleypot. Galleypot is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam says the password each and every night, right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. Some childhood memories were so scary to me that I will never forget them. Like the one I'm about to share with you today. When I was 5 or 6 years old, I strongly believed I had a ghost living in my house. One night, while I was watching TV on the couch in my living room, I got distracted by a rocking chair moving back and forth. It was very odd. The windows were open, but there was no wind blowing that night. This was in the fall, so we didn't need to turn on the AC most days. It was a little weird, but I figured it was probably rocking back and forth because it was just a really old rocking chair. It stopped rocking a minute later, and it didn't move again. The next night, when I was watching TV again, I heard a cup fall to the ground from the shelf. Something wasn't right. Why would it just fall like that? There was nobody over there. I thought it was probably just a draft, so I walked over to the kitchen area, which was right next to the living room. I picked up the cup off the floor and placed it back where it should belong. Nothing happened again that night or the following night. The night after, I was watching TV yet again, and out of the blue, a radio on the desk right next to the TV turned on by itself. This was not a draft. A radio can't just turn on by itself. It would only turn on if someone manually enabled it. At this time, I started freaking out and crying to myself silently. Eventually, after getting some courage, I ran to my parents' room while I heard the radio still playing. I barged right in to see my mom on the phone with someone. I heard her say to whoever she was on the phone with, "Hold on a second." She asked me what the matter was. I exclaimed that the radio had just turned on out of nowhere by itself, and I thought that a ghost had done it. She rolled her eyes, sighed, and said, "Come along with me." So we went together into the living room. When I got back to the living room, the radio was now turned off. My mom then told me, "See, there is no such thing as ghosts." I told her that I was being for real, but she didn't buy it. She walked back to her room and continued the conversation where she left off with whoever she was on the phone with. No sudden movements ever happened again. I was so scared to go into that living room for quite some time after that. Eventually, I did face my fears, though, but it will always stick with me. I know most people don't believe in the paranormal, but I firmly believe that ghosts were in my house back in the day. These stories might not be necessarily terrifying, but they creeped me out to no end.
Thank you, Swampy, for another spooky story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Thousands of stories for you to listen to each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. It's time for Robin.
Walking Haynes walks soft where the tall trees sway. She hears Bigfoot whisper what the wind won't say. Through the veil of the forest where the wild man plays, the Bigfoot psychic talks to Sasquatch every day. Only on Spaced Out Radio's Cryptic Q&A.
Robin Haynes, it is always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio. And apparently we have another song for you to play.
Another one?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Oh my gosh.
Happy birthday, Robin Haynes. Happy birthday.
Oh my gosh.
To you. From all
That
of us at
was
Spaced Out Radio.
Oh, thank you. How did you know it was my birthday? I even took my birthday down off Facebook.
Yeah, well, you know what? We have our ways. We have our ways.
Well,
and,
thank you.
You could thank Paramarv in our chat room for tipping me off to that.
Oh, thank you. You guys are awesome. No place I'd rather be. So thank you very much. In fact, other than my daughter, you're the first ones that have said happy birthday because it's just a little after, well, it's 2:00 in the morning here, but I appreciate it, you guys, so much.
I love you, my dear, and I love it
I
that
love
you're
you
here
too.
every week, and you mean so much to this show and what you do and what you bring with your knowledge, and you are way awesome, way
Thank
awesome.
you. I just love you guys. And you know what? And the people that watch the show are phenomenal because they'll get hold of me on Messenger and they are always so kind. Like you guys, you just have the best group ever. You know, I love doing this show. It's my all-time favorite show. I'm so blessed and grateful that you put up with me and have me back every week.
Well, we love it that you're here and everything like that because you make it fun. You do. You make it fun.
Thanks. Well, I try. You guys, like I said, I love it.
Robin, one of the things that we were talking about with Timothy Renner here just a few minutes ago, and you and I have never really talked about this in depth. We've mentioned it, but we've never gone in depth with it. What is your thoughts of not only gifting sites for cryptids like Sasquatch, but people who put food out for them?
Well, you've got to be careful because first off, I used to do that. I was one of those people. I didn't know any better. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have anybody in the Sasquatch community or cryptid community. I knew nobody. I was by myself. I was fortunate because the group that I was working with that was at my home all the time, they walked freely around my house uncloaked day in and day out. And they were really good. There was only one of them that would get kind of torqued up, but he wasn't mean. But you can't feed him enough to sustain their lives. You're giving them a treat. It's like giving a child a cookie. That's the best you can hope for. But they become dependent on it because their life isn't easy. They have to hunt, they have to do all of these things. So when they get something as easy as getting a treat, giving it to them now and then, there is nothing wrong with that. Periodically, when they don't know what's coming, they think it's a blessing and they enjoy it. When you give it to them on a regular basis, I was outside every day between 5:30 and 6. They had multiple kinds of food. I was going through well over $200 a week feeding them, plus scraps from the house. Like when I made Thanksgiving dinner, I made 2 dinners, one for them and one for my family. Like this is what went on year round. And the group I had was phenomenal. And I had major interaction. But the thing is most of them are not like that. And they get used to it. And when you stop, they can get highly aggressive and pissy about it. So it isn't a good idea. And it's not safe to do what I did and do it on a regular basis. Now, if you are taking it out there random times, maybe once or twice a week, there's nothing wrong with that. There isn't. Just don't do it on a regular basis when they start to get dependent on it, because no matter how much you feed them, you're never going to fill them up because more from the clan comes in. Like when I did it, they were always stealing dog food. So I had like 2 buckets that would have dog food in it. I had a bucket that had vegetables in it. I had a bucket that had meat products in it. I had snacks. It was insane. Plus I had toys for the kids that were there, which the kids liked the toys. That was fine. But there was a huge amount of food that went into it every single week. And they got very dependent on it. And the one time that it was late because I got held up at church with my kids, I came home and I had buckets that were snapped onto the trees. I'd put eye hooks in the trees and snapped buckets on them. They had unsnapped them. The buckets were on the porch upside down and they were all running around the woods. They weren't aggressive to me, but they were making sure that I knew that they were not happy. And the only one in that group that was kind of wild was screaming at the top of his lungs. And I did go out and I put food out that night and they didn't try to harm me in any way. But after I put the food out, it was like a freight train coming through the woods. They were coming in so fast. It's just not safe. You're not always going to be there. And you'll never feed them enough to sustain them all. More just keep coming. So put out what you want to put out as a treat, like whether it be peanut butter, a package of cookies, or, maybe once in a great while, if you've got leftovers from dinner and you want to put it out, go for it. Just don't do it on a regular basis where it's predictable. As much as they like predictability, it's not safe with food. It just isn't, because you just don't know which one's going to come in. Because I would have ones from other clans that would come in. We had 3 clans in that area, and they would come in as well. And it just isn't safe. Like I said, now and then, absolutely. I used to love putting peanut butter out. They'd unscrew the top and they'd scoop it out with their finger and I'd get fingerprints. It was great. You can give them treats. Just do it moderately. And when they don't know that it's coming. Like if you put it out this week, maybe wait another week or so for more food treats. Just don't do it so that they get dependent on it.
See, I want to try the peanut butter. I don't know why. I just want to try the peanut butter.
I think you should.
The big thing is, though, like I won't put food out. I won't put out apples or bananas or ham hocks or whatever may be out there. I'm not going to do that. There's too many wild animals in that area, and I don't need them infringing on my time when I'm out there. And so I have zero desire to do that. But the peanut butter just seems like something I want to try just to see if we're going to get any sort of reaction to it.
Well, and it's fun because they've got to unscrew the jar to get into it to begin with. And then when they go to get it out with their finger, they end up smearing fingerprints on the inside of the jar. Like they would devour the whole jar, or they would take the jar and we would find the jar later on up the road on the side, in the woods or wherever. Yeah, I would put apples out. And I think I talked about this before. I didn't want to just put them at the base of a tree. And I wanted them to take them. So I took the apples and I put them in the branches, in the crevices of the branches on the tree. So it looked like an apple in a tree. And I used to do that all over the woods and on my property, and they would go and they'd take them. Well, one year I realized at the very, very back of the property, there were like 6 apple trees back there. And they actually had fruit on them. It was the first year they had fruit on them. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to keep buying all these apples when you've got apples there. So I quit buying apples, bought something else. And I went out there one morning and all the apples were picked off the apple trees. I walked through the front of the woods and they had put them in the crevice of I took pictures of it, all the branches in the exact same trees that I used to put the apples for them. They did it back for me. That was the coolest thing because it showed how intelligent they were and their thought process and what tender hearts they have. And then I gave them a banana. They didn't know what a banana was. They bit the end off of it and spit it out because it tasted bitter because of the peel. So I just started to peel the top open. And after that, man, they figured out how to peel the banana and take the banana without a problem. But I had a cage that I would put food in on a plate. And it had a welded bottom. It was an old rabbit cage. And I put snaps all around the top of the opening so that nothing could get in. Like a mouse couldn't have got in because I had so many snaps on it. They would unsnap it, open it up, take the plate out, take the food out, and then they'd put a possum in there. And then they would put all the snaps back on in a different place. And I'd have these pissed off possums every morning when I went out there. And I was stuck trying to get them out. And they would be like, well, you fed us, we're feeding you. And I was like, that's really great, guys, but this gal doesn't eat a possum. And I love possums. I'm obsessed with possums. But I mean, they do it like a gift exchange. It's almost like a barter. And, I mean, hundreds of years ago, some of the clans would barter back and forth with the First Nations tribes. There is stories of that.
The bartering, I understand. Okay. What I don't understand is how infrequent it can be if they are in that area all the time.
Yeah, I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to it. They're each individuals. Now, they would, when I was putting food out all the time, and again, you guys, I don't recommend it. Put trinkets out, whatever. You can leave them gifts all the time, just not always food. If I put something out, I was given something. It was automatic. Or if they needed something and they'd say, we need this, whether it was for medicinal purposes or whatever, I would be like, all right, fine. And I've done that here as well. And I'd leave it for them. There was always a gift left in replacement, always, every single time. And they had gotten to the point, because they're so telepathic, they know everything that goes on with you. And I would need something and it would just appear. It's like, I love the color purple. Purple and green are my favorite colors. And I can't remember, I was really upset about something. And I like purple lace. And I remember getting this weird thought about purple lace in my head and thinking to myself, I really like purple lace. I don't know why. And then the next morning I get up and there's a giant piece of purple lace that they had ripped off of something on my front porch. Or if I was having a really bad day or whatever, I would walk outside, there would be flowers on my porch. Or they had grabbed them from God knows where. I never could figure out where. And they would have them on my porch. If I had a head cold, all of a sudden there would be white pine needles on my porch, because they use that as a medicinal thing for healing. It's like they're this in tune to us and each other. And they were just a group that was very much into the give and take. But again, it depends on each group because not all groups I've worked with are like that.
Why do you think in that bartering system that even though they may like other items, like in my gifting tree, I have items that I've talked to numerous Bigfoot people, including yourself. I've kind of spread them out a little bit. Okay. And they just don't seem to be taking it. Like, I'm surprised the jade rock we have there has not been taken, or the quartz hasn't been taken, or even the hawk's feather.
Yeah, I'm surprised too, because like the hawk's feather, they used to bring me hawk feathers, turkey vulture feathers, and that kind of thing. And those were significant to them. I'm surprised they haven't taken the jade. Now the quartz and selenite, they use that as a protectant. So they may not have taken that, even though we would have thought to them they would have taken it for those reasons. They also might be leaving it for you for those very reasons, thinking it would keep you safe. There's no idea. I mean, it's really hard to figure out exactly why some of the clans do the things they do. It makes no sense. You know, in their mind, they've got it reasoned out, and you're not going to change their thought process on it. But we don't ever really know. Like, we have an idea. And again, they're each an individual. Each one of them processes and thinks differently. Each group has a clan leader that's going to allow different things. And if they don't agree with it or they don't abide by it, their form of punishment is not giving somebody a timeout. It's sending them through the air, you know, or backhand. I mean, it's all corporal punishment. It's not just that easy. There was one that a friend of mine and I went to go visit physically, left him a little tiny granola bar out. That was it. Next thing I know, another one came up to take the granola bar, and they're flinging each other through the air like they were going to kill each other over this 3-inch little granola bar that wouldn't have done them a whole lot of good. You know, they're all individual. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
I often wonder, you know, when I'm out in the forest, what am I missing? What are they leaving for me that I'm maybe not seeing? Where would they put it? The forest is vast. The floor is very, very large out there. And if they put 1 or 2 rocks on a tree that's fallen, how am I going to notice that? How do I notice when they leave me things? Because I don't want to be upsetting them by not taking their items if I don't know where they are.
I know. And, you know, that happens more than people realize. I'll be working with clients and I'll be talking to the cryptids around them that they interact with. And they're like, well, did they find the rock? And I'm like, okay, you're out in the forest. There's rocks everywhere. Or they're down by a river and there's rocks all over. Did they find the rock? And they're like, what rock? Or did you find the branch? Something, you know, very insignificant that as we walk through the woods, it just looks normal to us. But it's a major significance to them. They deal with the natural elements within the woods. You know, I mean, sometimes we get lucky and like they'll go thieve things like the purple lace on Memorial Day one year. And I don't necessarily know that they understand what Memorial Day is. But I have a child that passed away. So on Memorial Day, it's kind of a pensive day for me. And I went out to the feeding area where I put food at, and they had gotten deep in my woods that nobody has access to, was a very worn Mylar balloon with a smiley face on it. And they had taken it where the feeding station is. And again, I have pictures of it. And the lace, or not the lace, but the string on it, they wrapped it around the base of a bush, and then they put branches over the top of it to keep it from floating out. Why they would think to do that for me on that particular day, I will never know. I don't. And I know where they got it because there was this little bar restaurant place in town, and they always had those up in there. And they probably found it in the dumpster. But yet they felt compelled to bring it there to make me feel better. It's like we don't know why they do some of these things. They are so highly in tune to us. They know every thought, every feeling, every emotion that we have. The only thing that's different is there's such a huge cultural difference between our world and theirs. What means something in our world may not mean the same in theirs. Other times it does. It depends on how close you are with them. The ones that I think did this for me were so in tune to me. I mean, they knew everything I was going to do before I did it. They knew how I was going to feel before it happened. And then you get other ones that are just so far out in left base, you don't understand why. But they do leave a lot of things for us. And they'll be like, well, we left them that stone. Okay, there's a million stones around where you're at. How do we find this out? So what I used to tell people to do, if you have them around your house.
Hold that thought. We're going to continue with Robin Haynes and Cryptid Q&A right after this.
This is Spaced Out Radio. Your host, Dave Scott.
1 second, Robin. All right, there we go. Okay,
Yeah, I think you're going to have fun with the peanut butter. You may have to leave it out there for a while. I've had some that it took 2 or 3 weeks to get them to take it, and I've had others that never would. It depends on that clan, whether or not they're allowed to.
Yeah. I'm just curious.
Yeah. The ones in Michigan, I could leave out anything. It didn't matter what it was. There was nothing they wouldn't take. The ones here in South Carolina, they will steal stuff because then they don't think I'm aware that they're going to do it. But they'll ask me for things. I'll leave it out for them, and they're terrified to touch it. But yet they'll take stuff when they think I'm not looking. They're forever doing that. But if I go and leave gifts out for them of food or anything, they're afraid to touch it. Once in a great while, and I've been here for about 9 years, and I think there's only been a handful of times that they've actually taken what I put out for them. Now, will they get in my house and steal my dog food? All the time. That's not a big deal. Will they get in my garage and take stuff? Absolutely, because they're doing it and they don't think I know they're doing it. Of course, when they get in the garage, what they've done now is the wheels that are on that track for the garage door, and those are solid steel. And I left one day and the garage door was down, and I came back and the bottom corner of it had been bent in. They bent that wheel L-shaped, and they slithered in through the bottom, and you could see in the dirt where they had gone in at. So we bent it back and tried to fix the door to some degree. And I had mini pigs that they have a pen that's in the garage. And at the time I had kennels in there for the dogs, which that didn't last long. The dogs are in the house. But they would want to go in there with the animals. And they would bend that thing, and they have destroyed that garage door. You can't even put it up and down anymore. And they would go in, and I'd get up in the morning and all the animals would be running loose in the garage because they would have opened all the cages. And you'd find muddy footprints on the garage floor. You'd find evidence of what it was doing it. But if I would leave things for them, I don't want it. But yet they'll go up on my front porch and eat 5 pounds of feral cat food in one sitting. Or they'll go in the feral cat pens, and take it.
So strange.
It is. Every clan is different, and every individual is different. Sometimes they process things like we do, but most of the time it comes from a completely different thought process because of the cultural differences.
Got about 1:30, Robin.
Okay. Yeah, I would definitely put peanut butter out there. It's not going to hurt. You know, and you've got a lid on it. The bears might try to get into it, but you're going to know because you're going to see bear prints around and whatever. They also didn't like the ones in Michigan, for whatever reason, they did not like the label on the jar. Every jar I left them, they stripped the label off. We would find the jar buried in the woods in various places. And every one of them, they had ripped the label off, opened the jar, and got all the peanut butter out of it.
That's what I want to try.
Yeah, I think you
See
should.
what happens.
It may take a while to get them to take it, or they might take it right off the bat. You just don't know with them. Just depends on the individual in the group.
Well, I'm curious to see what happens because we moved one of our trail cams. We took it from the bashing tree. We put it over by where the 18.5-inch tracks were found.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's right at your stopping point.
Yeah.
That's where we put it.
Good.
Hopefully we'll get something. And I don't think anybody will find the camera there either.
No.
Here we go, Robin.
Okay.
Here we go, the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Q&A with Robin Haynes continuing right now. And Robin, right before the break, you were telling us a story about gifting, about leaving out treats, and how it's either good or bad or a combination of both. But the big thing is, like any creature that lives out in the wild, you don't want them to become dependent on you.
Right. Yeah, and the other thing you were saying too is like, how do we tell when they've left us a gift? Because a lot of stuff, it's all natural stuff. We wouldn't know. And what I started doing, and there's so many ways you can do it. This is just something that I had done. Every night, right before dark, like they were coming up to my house. You would do this like at your research site before you would leave. But like at night, I would go out about, I don't know, right before dark. I'd walk around the perimeters of my house. I'd look at everything that was on the ground, whether it's sticks, rocks, branches, whatever. Sometimes I'd even take pictures of everything that was on the ground. And then the next morning I would go out and I'd look at it again and I'd compare that to what I had in my pictures. And that's when I really found drastic differences, whether it were sticks that were put down in a certain fashion, whether it rocks somewhere, rocks up on the roof or whatever. In your case, because you go out to that research site, you would go and take pictures of the ground around the gifting stump or wherever you put your things in certain areas. And then when you go back, see if it changed. And that got to be the only way I could really tell, other than when they left things on the porch. If they left it on the porch, it was easy. They brought me, I don't even know where they got it. They had to have stolen it from somebody that raised rabbits, because there were several people like within that town that did. And they had ripped the head off of it, and it was a dead black rabbit, and they laid it on the porch for me. And I would be like, okay, what was this for? Well, you feed us, I'm feeding you. But they did the same thing with the possums that they kept putting in this cage for me. And I'd be like, why do you do this? Well, you fed us, we're feeding you. And I'm like, this girl doesn't eat possums. I love possums. I'm not eating one. But, you know, that was the only way that I could really tell what they were leaving and what they weren't, unless it was something that was very deliberate, you know, and noticeable and like right up in front of me. But I got to where I took a picture of the ground and everything around the house. And the other thing they would leave me continually was copper pennies. They took all the flowers out of my flower baskets that were under my windows in my house. They stripped every single bit of plant out of it, and they took the wicker baskets. And I asked them why they took the wicker baskets that were in the wrought iron planter. And they said, we use it to help make fire. So they were using that for kindling. So I was like, okay, that's fine. But then they would start putting like grass and stuff in there, and the copper pennies, red pennies, everywhere I turned around, there was 10, 12, 15, 20 pennies in it. Never any other coins, just pennies. I mean, it was absolutely crazy. But apparently there's something in the minerals in those pennies that they thought were for healing, and so they were leaving those for me.
What is their love of coins?
It's the metal. They don't understand money because that's not how their world works. They do the barter system. They do the you give me something, I give you something, whatever. They don't understand what money is. In fact, they find it disgusting that our people do. Any of the ones I've ever asked about it, they'll say, well, do this or do this. And I'm like, well, you have to have money for that. They don't understand it. But the metal, there's different properties in the metal. And that's what it is. And each property can be used for different things. Copper, pennies, I think, are copper based. There's a lot of healing things in those. Not only is that a good thing, but like if you have a horse, or like I have mini pigs and I have these feral cats, you have water out there and it turns it into algae. If you take copper, whether it's a copper pipe or whatever, drop it in that water, it stays algae free. And it puts copper into the water, and there's healing properties in copper. Like, they know this stuff. It's amazing that they know it, but they do. So that's the big draw with the currencies. It's like you put the change out there, and the loonie is the only thing they want. That big male has carried that loonie all over the place, and then he brings it back and he leaves it there, and then it'll disappear, and he carries it. He keeps showing it to me in his hand. There's something about whatever that is made out of that he likes, but metal will hold a vibration as well.
Well, we're going to see, because I'm still curious. I know that Looney coin is going to show up again. I just don't know when or where.
Yep.
So I'm curious to see how it's going to happen and what's going to happen.
Well, he's funny with it because he'll show me his hand like it's open, and then it'll be in his hand, and then he closes his hand and makes a fist around it. And lately he takes his fist and he puts it on his chest, like to go like this, like he's holding it by his heart. And then I see him walking around afterwards, and he's got it clutched up to his heart. And then when I quit seeing him do that, you usually have the loonie back. But he's the one that keeps moving it and taking it. There's something special to him about that loonie.
I don't know what it is, but he seems to like it.
I know. I think they just like you. They love you. They look for you when you come out there. Like, you'll call me and say, let them know I'm coming. And as soon as I do, that white and black one go booking it for the front. They just sit there and wait for you. And then pretty soon the tannish brown one that's the leader, he'll be working his way up there. And then you'll see some of them from the back start coming in.
How often is a Bigfoot seen singularly? Like, a lot of people, when they have their sightings, they will only see one. But are there usually more around?
Yes and no. I mean, they're psychically linked through the collective consciousness. So, like, if you see one, most people will only see one. When they're together, you don't normally see them clustered together. Now, there are certain times they will, like if they're walking as a group or whatever, go like gravel pits. They go crazy over the gravel pits. And if you go there late at night, you can see groups of them down on the gravel pits. They're looking for rocks. And so you'll see groups of them. But normally walking around through the wood, you only see one. But I think that has a lot to do with if they're a group that are out like that, they spread out. Almost like they're guarding each other. Like, it's very planned. It's very oriented. And they've spread out. They cover ground not only to look for prey and food, but also if they're all gathered up together and somebody is intending to harm them, they're all in danger. If they're spread out, they've got sentries, that are watching, and that's when you start hearing the vocals and you hear the bird calls, or like another one they're really good at is they'll pop the side of their cheek and it sounds like a popping noise. But they have all these calls that we hear that we don't understand, and it's their way of connecting with each other vocally, not just psychically, to let them know what we're doing. There's somebody out in the woods, they're walking, or they're walking this way, or they're walking that way. And it's all forms of communication. So they tend to spread out so they can monitor all that. Like if you see one, I promise you, their chances are very rare that there's not more out there. You may not see them. They might be a distance away from each other, but they're close enough that if somebody's in trouble, it is a minute, if that, to get somebody there. When Sadie brought her baby for me to see, and she let me very close to that baby. And I just stood there and I watched the baby play, and she was putting it up on her chest and stuff. And it was the first time I had seen or had them bring one of the babies to me. And I thought, if I do the wrong thing, this is a test. I knew it. If I do the wrong thing, if I handle this situation incorrectly, I'm a dead woman, because they don't play when it comes to those kids. And they seldom, I know a lot of people that they've been blessed enough where they brought babies up for them to see, but they can get really bad. Like they're fiercely protective, more so than we are. And I was not that. I mean, we're talking 20 feet, maybe 30 at the max. I mean, I was really close. She let me walk right up to her. She was out there and I just kept walking up to her, and she just looked at me and watched me like she was fine with it. And I thought, this is so abnormal, it's not even funny. But that's when I knew it was a test. And after that day, they were coming out of the woodwork. I mean, the babies would be in the yard playing, and the adults were walking freely uncloaked. And it was like a whole new level of contact. But I knew if I would have made one wrong move at all, that would have been it for me, because I knew they would be coming out of the woodwork at me. You just don't see them. I think they stay spread out, and that's why you only see one at a time. That way the collective isn't as in danger. If there's a group of them and there's somebody out there with a gun, they're going to try to take down the whole group. But if they look like they're singly by themselves and they've separated and they're like sentry duty all around them, which with them, everything is the collective, and somebody's out there with a gun, they're going to take one down, not all. And that's how they look at it. That's how they've had to live their lives, because their lives are always in danger.
When you say their lives are always in danger, who's out to get them?
Us. We, they could overpower us in a minute. We are probably their biggest threat. The only other thing that I found that's really a threat to them, they get along with some of the aliens, but there are certain alien races that they're terrified of, because these things are coming down and wanting to kill them and take them. For the most part, the ones in Michigan, there were certain races of aliens and different ships that would come, and they would go out underneath of it, and they were excited about it. The Bosnia pyramids, when it started emitting that vibration, they were ecstatic. It was like they were at a party. They were so happy. But then let certain ships come by or certain races be out, and they were absolutely terrified. And they would tell me to stay in the house, lock the door. And I'm like, not like that would keep an alien out. It doesn't. And they would be afraid. They're coming to kill us. They're coming to take us and kill us. So it just depends on the race, in spite of the genetic link that I personally feel is there. But we are really the biggest threat. We kill off their food supply. We're constantly trying to shoot at them. We poison their water. We poison the earth. Everything they need to survive is either damaged by us or we're trying to kill them. our people, and I've said this before, our people, not all of us, because there's a lot of really good humans out there, but typically our people kill what we don't understand rather than learn, rather than understand it and say, okay, we're not the only things on this planet. We'll all live together and let's try to work it out. They kill what they don't understand. We feel like we've got to dominate everything and we have to be the biggest and baddest when the reality of it is we're on the bottom of the pole.
I'm not giving up bacon, Robin. Not giving up bacon.
And they love bacon. If you're camping and you cook bacon on that campfire, if they're around, they're coming in. Like you may not even realize they're there, but they love the bacon. And I have mini pigs. And I was always worried about that because they love bacon. And hog is one of their huge staples that they eat. And I've never had them bother my minis. And when I say my mini pigs, the reason mini pigs stay little is because people starve them to keep them small. They grow to the amount of food you feed them. I don't starve any of my animals. So my minis don't really look mini. Okay. They're spoiled brats. They have no idea they're pigs, but they have never, ever tried to hurt them. In fact, I have one that's an escape artist. He gets his snout under the fence and then he lays on his side and he flip-flops like a fish until he wiggles his way out from under the fence. And they have literally brought him back from the woods. I can't even tell you how many times. They've never hurt one of my pigs, but yet hog is one of their favorite foods.
Can't blame them.
I know.
Blame them. You never
they
go
love
wrong
the bacon.
with the bacon.
I know.
Terry,
There's something about the bacon.
Terry has a question for you.
Okay.
Do other forest creatures go silent when Bigfoot is in vicinity?
Yes. What you notice is one of two things. Normally, it will go completely dead quiet. Bugs, crickets, every animal that's out there, every bug goes quiet and dormant. Or, and this happens when my granddaughter and I go out for our walks because she talks to them and they mind speak to her. She's 2 and we'll be walking down the road and all of a sudden she'll stop and back up, go over to the side of the road and she'll say, hi, and wave into the woods. And you can either see something moving or hear it moving through there. But with her, she'll go to walk where they're at and all of a sudden all these bugs will just start going crazy. It's so loud, it's deafening. So you either get one extreme or the other, but it changes from the normal. But generally it goes quiet. If it's loud, it's going to go quiet. If it's quiet, it's going to go loud.
Here's my thing on that. As somebody who experiences that almost every time we're out in our area, there's nothing more eerie than a silent forest.
Oh, yeah. I agree. Yeah, it's like
the second thing you have to do, this is what I've learned, is you have to listen to where the one chipmunk or squirrel is going crazy.
Yep.
You know they're really close if nothing is happening. But usually there's a chipmunk or squirrel or a raven or a crow that will let you know.
Yeah. And they will send the birds in to watch you and monitor you. If all of a sudden, you've got all these birds ahead above you, you're being watched. And they will go back to them with the information. They don't even have to go back to them because they're all telepathic. And also what they do is they will watch you through the eyes of the birds. Like, it's just really, it's crazy, and I hear myself say some of these things and I'm like, you're nuts, but I've experienced it my whole life. You can't change what you experience. But, yeah, I agree with you.
For the record, since I brought up bacon, there is no such thing as Canadian bacon. It's sliced ham.
Yep.
It's sliced ham. Canadian bacon is bacon.
Yep.
Canadian bacon is sliced ham. Let's just get a clarification on that.
Yeah. And they like ham too. They do real well with ham. I used to, like on Thanksgiving, I would make a turkey for my family. I'd make a turkey for them. Christmas, I would make a ham for my family. I'd make them their own ham. And they would go crazy. They like turkey and ham. but they loved it. You know, there's one that I go visit, and he is forever eating hog. You know, and the ones that are around one of the areas I go to, that's their primary food. They eat that more than they do deer. There's wild hogs all over the place, and they eat that more than they do anything else. But they have never once, ever attempted to harm any of my pigs, ever. Like right now, normally my pigs come in either in the house or in their pen in the garage at night because their house broken. But right now I have so many dogs, I don't let them in. It's not safe for them. But it's so hot here that they used to have an air conditioner in the garage, but the air conditioner died. So it's too hot in the garage. So like tonight, they're outside in their pen. I'm not the slightest bit worried about them. And I've got Sasquatch walking around inside the fence. They climb over the fence and walk around my backyard all the time. They leave stuff on the porch constantly, but they have never once bothered my pigs. And it's the craziest thing. I'm grateful, eternally grateful. I mean, I tell them when I moved here and when I've lived in other places, these are like my kids, like we don't mess with them. You can eat the wild ones, but you can't touch them. And I've never had an issue. And when Elliot's gotten loose, we have so many venomous snakes here. It's insane. Nobody should live in South Carolina. This is ridiculous. Can't wait to get out. But I can't go into the woods because of all the rattlers that we have in Cottonmouth and Copperhead. And he would get loose and he'd go right out into the woods. And it's like, it's a death trip to even go in to go look for him. And I would tell him, will you guys please bring him back? And they would bring him back. Like he'd come running out of the woods like his butt was on fire. And I have a picture of Shadow from the shoulder up, seeing his shoulders and his head and his face when he chased Elliot back up. And they never have tried to hurt him, ever. They could have gotten my mini pigs at any time. They would break into the garage to play with them and never harmed one hair in their little bodies. But they will eat wild hogs and farm hogs all day long.
Robin, we only got about 30 seconds left with you tonight. Another show with you that has flown on by. Do me a favor, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
Sure. If you want to book a session or need any services, you get hold of me at www.paranormal-empowerment.com. Or if you want to just chat, or if you do want services booked, you can still find me on Facebook under Robin Haynes, Haynes, no middle initial. That is not even an active account. It's there, but I have no access to it.
I love it. You make this so much fun when you were here.
Oh, thank you. I love you guys. And thank you for the birthday wishes. You're all amazing.
Yes. Birthday girl, Robin Haynes here on Spaced Out Radio, as she joins us each and every week for the Cryptid Q&A. Something different, something fun. And I hope you enjoyed her time on tonight's show. We'll talk to her next week as we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw. Rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, Elgin, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Good job, Robinator. Hold on, I think I got you muted. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, she already left. She already left. She already left. Look at that. There we go. One portion down. All right, coming up, my phone is going to ring from WABC in New York. New York. On the Red Apple Audio Network, Sir Walter M. Sterling will be asking me a few questions. What we do around here. Excuse me. As we get ready to download the show. Amy. Come on. Eat it. There we go. Go there. Go there. Yeah, that's that. All right. Dave's tired tonight. Dave is tired and uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. This. Where am I going with that? Right here. There we go. And there we go. Copy. Go here. And where are you? Looks good. Looks good. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Just living the dream. All right. Thank you. On that note, I got to sign off. Thank you to T-Bone and Kitty. We appreciate you. And tomorrow night on the show, Courtney Barksani, the UFO tranches. We'll talk tomorrow night, everybody. Much love. Be safe. And see you tomorrow.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.